that is because it's a little far away from our Wilmington radar to really get the proper perspective on what the storms are doing and how things are going. You'll notice all of the red polygons across the region. It's one of the things that, of course, that we're watching because those storms have been so strong and, of course, tornadic. As we look down here, you'll notice the warning is still out, heading for you folks in Versailles. This warning is out until 8:15. Let's see if we can get a little ETA for you folks. Yeah, that's, you'll notice again, there hasn't been much change. It looks like Jackson at 8:13. So you're looking at 19 minutes. Do not wait to see this storm. Make sure that you go ahead, and I would take your tornado safe place, stretching from Batesville down through parts of Ripley County. We're getting a pretty strong indicator here, our tornado index to just about 6. We've got hail about an inch big, and here's a new update from our computer, and it's showing these thunderstorms and across the area, and the ETA as well out to Napoleon, and that would be at 8:21. Jen, what do you see in some of what you've been looking at?
So just checking through the National Weather Service's chat of like what they're noticing with these cells. Primarily it's the wind. I will though point out the cell down near VV. I don't know if you've seen that, Steve. It's kind of there at the bottom end of the radar, but I've got it here pulled up behind me. This was nothing about 10 minutes ago. So these, as the storms are coming in and that wave is coming in, there are some impulses that are coming out and causing these little isolated storms to form, and these could quickly go severe. So even if you aren't under one of those severe thunderstorm warnings right now, like if you're down in VV, they're in Ohio County, also Switzerland County, this is going to move quickly there up into like the Rising Sun area and also traverse there into Boone County, which is part of one of our other warnings. So don't let your guard down. These storms are definitely, Steve, forming quickly, and the fact that they're moving now at about around 50 miles per hour. They slowed down a little bit from what we saw earlier, but still these are booking it as they move into our area. Yeah, I'm curious, and maybe you can set this up, Jen, and take a look at some of the shear that's going on with some of these storms that are approaching the area, because we've got these lineup of very powerful storms stretching right up to almost Connorsville. You'll notice the storm, you folks in Connorsville at the moment, this is rather benign, even though you're technically under a severe thunderstorm warning. So that's till 8:30, but that might be as much as the reason why is just to keep you ready. And I imagine some folks have turned on the TV because they've heard the sirens going off. That happens when, excuse me, happens when we get severe thunderstorm warnings on top of a tornado watch. Most emergency managers end up doing that and going ahead and signaling that way. They're not really tornado warning sirens, they're emergency sirens. Jen? So when it comes to the shear that you were asking for in the Batesville area, yes. So I've got it pulled up here. I wouldn't say it's the most alarming shear that you and I have seen today, but there is some present there in the Batesville area. I was also checking the storm relative velocity. Again, it's loose. It is not what I would consider a tight couplet. So at this point, I would say we're probably not looking at an active tornado there in Batesville, which we do not have the tornado warning, but some elements are present and definitely worthwhile of watching very closely, which, Steve, thank you for pointing that out, and I'll continue to keep an eye on it. Yeah, that sounds great. Right now, I still have the Indianapolis radar on, and as we look at it, it really shows some pretty good structure to these storms. The reality of this is it's often hard for the Wilmington radar to pick up some of this because of it shooting really not giving us a representative picture of what's happening. But right now, we have got that severe thunderstorm warning that's stretching across Ripley and Dearborn counties. Your sirens are probably going off. We have got some winds that are going to about 60 miles an hour. I'm going to put this back on. Let me just check right here, though, and see what's happening at the head of the storm. This is a little update for you folks who are out ahead of this storm in Harrison. It'll be Cleves as well soon. You folks in Sunman, it's happening pretty much right now. I've tagged
this, so it's just outside of your area. Next few minutes, Harrison at 8:19 for this. These storms are lining up pretty good, and they have been showing those properties of some severe weather. So we're getting this lineup that we talked about earlier during our newscast as the possibility of happening. What I'm kind of concerned about is some of these storms that are just buried right down in here. You'll notice this is still a tornado warning here until 8:15, and it still has a little signature hook on it here across that system itself. This is going to be by you in Batesville at 8:18, so that's 19 minutes away. And right at the moment, let me just look at some of the statistics here. Not looking too bad overall across the area. We've got ourselves all of these storms kind of lining up. Jen, some thoughts at this point?
I'm looking at the Batesville cell again. So with that tornado warning, that's what originally prompted it. The rotation is not tight there, but if you look at the last couple of frames there going into Batesville, the red and the green are meeting there along the interstate at I-74 and also around Route 46. So it's present, so it's kind of jumped ahead. The cells have kind of adjusted a bit as they've continued to go there to the east, because if you look at the reflectivity of what's happening there, like this is the area that was tornado warned, but now you've got a new notch coming in there south of Batesville, so you can get those movements of where rotation can adjust within that storm structure, and you can see it there at Batesville. So it's, again, it's near really the city itself. They're along the interstate at I-74 at the Batesville exit, also Route 46 there in Indiana. And then this is moving pretty much due east. We should get a new radar update to come in here shortly. But Steve, if it is an actual tornado out there, it is fully rain wrapped. Like this is going to be something, or maybe you have a funnel cloud at this point, but there is some very intense rain in that area right now. Yeah,
there's no question about it. Great explanation, because that is the story right at the moment. We're seeing all of this across the region at the moment, kind of lining up, and it's going to start moving into really the greater Cincinnati area here shortly. That's why we're staying with this, because these winds have been showing really quite strong, anywhere from 60 to 70 miles an hour, and then probably stronger with some of these tornado-warned storms. I just want to put the lightning back on here for you so you can see that we're looking at giant, got a little canister there. Well, it's a little jargon term. This is what this shows, is the fact that there's some rotation perhaps at the surface right there around Batesville. And you'll notice that's exactly the area we talked about where this formerly tornadic storm started to move in. You folks in Batesville would be wise, if you're not, to go into your tornado safe location. And for that matter, as we look at it too, you folks around the Brookville area, I think also, because it won't be long before it's right up by you. You'll notice St. Mary's in between. It looks like really in the Oldenburg area at the moment. I have the map obviously tilted in a kind of a 3D fashion so you get a better sense of it, because otherwise we're right there. Jen, you probably, I can see it better as I pull in. Sawmill Road through County Road 1600, is that what I see?
So I just pulled up the national, or the CVG radar, because it's now getting close enough to where the CVG radar is giving us a good idea of what's going on. And you can actually see the area of rotation. So not really Oldenburg. We are really right there on I-74. Now due east of Batesville with the newest return coming in. So you're several miles down on the interstate. Because again, this is moving at like 45 to 50 miles per hour. So when you're looking at exactly what town we're talking about, this is over, I believe, Morris at this point. You're getting up to the next exit there on the interstate at State Route 101. Not quite, so not right quite to Pentown, but it is right there near Morris at County Road 1500 North is where it is sitting at the moment, but really close to that main interstate there between here in Cincinnati and over in Indianapolis. So you can see this is, the rotation is, that's that CVG
right there,
radar.
Yeah, you got the couplets, and then we get some gray ghosts. It's probably really couplets right there where we're not getting any data. There's an update for us. One thing I want to note, you folks have joined the party. I hate to use that term, but it's kind of true. In Boone, also fully Dearborn here, and just it looks like maybe also Hamilton County. There might be warning sirens going off in some of those locations. Now, to bring you up to date, you're probably just tuning in with us. Here's where we stand. Now, the National National Weather Service is issuing out in front of a lot of these storms because they're so powerful. So you'll notice, you folks, especially in parts of Boone County, and then down by Aurora. So as we bring it in, looks like also Lawrenceburg, of course, and looks like Burlington just in that edge of that warning. So that warning is going to be out until 8:45 across Boone County and the other areas I mentioned because of this storm that progresses off to the east northeast. It does look like it's moving more northeast than anything else. And again, for you folks who are in Indiana, here's a little ETA of that warning now, because that got extended out into Boone County and parts of Hamilton. We have got a very powerful storm. If I was at home with my family, I would probably go down to my tornado safe location. The reason why is I'm seeing that tornado index that's at 6.6. We're talking about a lot of rotation, that storm happening, the one that's right down here by Versailles that's moving off to the northeast at 40 miles an hour. Here are the communities that'll be most affected here in the next few minutes: from Holton at 8:17, Versailles at 8:25, Osgood at 8:26, and Delaware at 8:32. The reason why I read them off is for the folks who are not sighted. That way they can follow along as well if they are in the path of the storm. Now, as you look at it, you'll notice this storm continues. We've been looking a lot and focusing up here because there is a ton of rotation down here. You folks from Aurora stretching over to parts of Boone County, you're not seeing much at all. New warning coming in?
Waiting to see what populates here shortly.
We have a little speaker that tells us when the warnings are, and I don't think
tornado warning for Dearborn County, Franklin County, and Ripley County, and it should be there on your map coming out of Batesville. That very rotation
right
that you
there.
and I have been following, the National Weather Service now following heed of that rotation that is present there in really the Batesville area at this moment.
Okay, so here's your ETA. For you folks who are in Brookville, Fairfield, Bath, Riley, you're talking about a storm that's going to be here shortly. Take your tornado safe location. We're also seeing some large hail with this. Naturally, there's a lot of lightning. I just turn it off so you can see the maps better, and that's, you can see why I do that, because it's just really intense. Let me put the meter on there. Goodness gracious, that area that you see there, we're talking about 1,100 strikes in just the last 15 minutes. Now, for the affected area, let's go in a little bit closer, and I'm going to go ahead and knock this stuff off here. Hold on just a second, bring you up, and I need to take the lightning off so you can see it better.
And Steve, I would say while you're getting that adjusted, if you're in St. Mary's, please take shelter at this moment. Highland Center, take shelter. Cedar Grove and Mound Haven, you are all in the path of this storm. Again, this is a radar indicated possible tornado, not confirmed, but those towns do need to take shelter.
Okay, yeah, in fact, this becomes pretty simple, but overall, we're looking at an area that's right here. You know why? This is what we call a bounded, let me just grab that and then do this. See this area here? This is what we call a bounded weak echo region. If you were looking down, this is a perfect example. If you're looking down at a blender right now and you'd look in and you'd see there's that empty area in the middle, is because everything else around it is spiraling so hard and so fast, throws everything out. Well, that's what's going on right through this region right here now. And as Jen mentioned, we're looking at what could very well be around the Pentown area. I'd like to see probably, and I need to jump out of this so that I can see. Jen, you want to see what our SRV looks like, our storm relative, or you got Shear up? How's the Shear look?
So I pulled up the Shear, which it's kind of there due east of Oldenburg. So you're now kind of more into Franklin County more than anything of what we're talking about, because there's Batesville on the map, there's Oldenburg, and a lot of our rotation is sitting there east of Oldenburg. But when you look at like the different radar sources, you have the velocity out of CVG. So, I mean, you're talking about a radar site that it isn't too far away, but it is a shorter terminal Doppler, and it's a little bit kind of there due east of Oldenburg right now. And then we switch back over to the National Weather Service in Indianapolis, because Steve, as you've been mentioning, it is a little bit closer there. And it's not the tightest of couplets, but you're in between two radar sources. But again, it's kind of right there east of Batesville right now. I would say right along the county line. Pentown, pretty still close to that. Also Morris, but St. Mary's, you're kind of there on the fringe of it. While I do have you here for just a second, Steve, I did want to point out, remember the cell that we've been following, gosh, for what, 2 hours that came out of Bloomington? That one now is moving into Columbus, Indiana. It is once again a confirmed tornado. And the reason I point this one out is that this has been a supercell. The structure.
Look at the debris ball on the end of it too.
Yes, debris signature has been there. You can see the structure of a perfect supercell. Like this is what they write textbooks about in meteorology.
Yeah, that's true.
This cell has been moving steadily eastbound at about 50 to 60 miles per hour. And I point this out because this, if it continues on this track, it is going to move into the northern portion there of Ripley County here in about the next hour's time. And again, this has been a long-standing cell that has not given up. It keeps cycling and putting down confirmed tornadoes. So if you're in the northern portion of Ripley County, please be aware that even though you just had storms that came through, you are not done. You could see a much worse storm coming in here in 45 minutes to an hour.
Okay, let's give you a set again of why we're on in continuous coverage. We have a tornado warning that's out until 8:30 over a good portion of our viewership in southeast Indiana. You'll see it in through here. All of that area by Batesville, we're talking about by Oldenburg, Sunman, and other locations to north of there. Let's run them down, whether it's Lawrenceville, Highland Center, St. Mary's, St. Leon. We're talking about New Trenton, Braysville. Let's see if there's any other folks here at the end of this. Yes, there is. Mound Haven, Cedar Grove, Sharptown, Druersburg, Scipio. Boy, I always learn a few towns when we're doing this severe weather coverage. Okay, so here is our box. You'll see it flashing here. This is our tornado warning. As we look at it across the area, we're talking about a storm system, and I want to see myself what's going on with the storm relative velocity. What happens here is we've got winds that are going in both directions. So we have winds down here that are going away and toward the radar. Now, this is our Wilmington radar, so it's a bit of a distance away. I'm going to take a look in a second what this is off of our Indianapolis, but this is what we're talking about, is this couplet area here in red and then down to green, because that's the going toward and away. So we're looking at the winds blowing this way, coming up this way, and creating that circulation in the atmosphere. Let's see what's the shears going on here. It's not particularly strong. I'm going to bounce over to our Indianapolis radar here. And first off, I want to see what the radar is picking up, and it is looking like it's doing a pretty good job there. So our velocity at this point, we got some missing data in there. But you'll notice there's also some brighter red marks here across that area. Let me grab, where is it? There it is. Let me grab this and show you. Let's see what we got for some winds. Yeah, they're not particularly strong. We've got that. Then we also probably have about the same over there as well. At the moment, this is still obviously tornado warned, but at the moment it's not a very powerful signature to what we'd be concerned about. Let's take a look at the shear there, very weak, and then also our hail. And as we look at it, there's been some, out here, as it was getting going. There's none at the moment showing up. So let me bounce back to our Wilmington radar and show you where we stand. Let me clear this stuff off here.
We do have a new warning, Steve.
Okay, what do we got?
So we have a new warning for Butler County that just issued, so including all of the county, Hamilton, Fairfield, Ross. You're all included in that, Westchester, Middletown. That new warning is going to go until 9 o'clock tonight. There is barely any precipitation there already into Butler County. So they're giving you guys that early warning to get ahead of that. Again, there's the newest warning until 9 p.m. tonight. But the worst part of that storm is part of that same tornado warning that is just now approaching the state line. So again, that one's new, going until 9 o'clock tonight.
Okay, gotcha. So we're talking about that area. I'm looking forward. So it's really just that warning that's there out till 9 o'clock is almost just for Oxford and West College Corner, by the way. So yeah, not a whole lot of the county being affected. So if you are hearing if you're dialing in from the major areas of maybe Hamilton, Fairfield, Westchester in Butler County, nothing out that way. You're probably wondering why any sirens, if you have them in your area, going off. Yes, there is a severe storm, though, heading toward you now. And in fact, it is a tornado warned storm, and that is going to be out now for really for some time across the area until until 8:30. So we're still looking at about 17 minutes as this storm continues to move off toward Riley for you folks that are in Butler County. Let me see where we see if we get some. Yeah, here we go. Here's some ETA for you. As we look at it, then we're looking at Riley at 8:38. That's the middle of the storm, the core of the storm itself right here. These arrows, what we call skits, and what they are is placed by our computer. And so our 9 first warning Doppler is the fastest Doppler in the tri-state. And this is what gives us just a leg up to tell you folks what's going to be happening. So when this storm is heading to Riley at 8:38, at 8:41, this is now right on the money as our Doppler is putting out these skits. Now, as we look at it too, you'll notice the torrential rain. This is moving at what, 49 miles an hour, but it's moving so quickly there's probably not a whole lot of rain that's going on right now. Jen, I wonder what our 1 hour totals are starting to look like for that if you do get a chance to pick that up. I know you're in the middle of analyzing a little bit. As we continue to look at this, though, we've got ourselves the storm that's here that is tornado warned. Let me back this out after I tell you that it goes right to about Drewersburg again. That's where that warning is. And then you'll see the warning in its entirety. At the present time, you folks that are south of Batesville by Sunman, you're okay. If you went to your tornado safe location, I can say you can come out now because this storm is now to the east-northeast of you, so you're okay. But Batesville, Oldenburg need to stay put. If you're watching on your cell phone, a computer, whatever you may be doing for a portable device or just have a TV in the basement, you can keep that in mind. One other note, you'll notice Jen talked about this a few moments ago. This is a confirmed tornado warning. Now, it's right over the Columbus area. I mentioned that again after Jen has mentioned it, only for you folks who live out this way who may have friends or relatives over by Columbus. Hopefully they're in their tornado safe location. This particular storm, you'll notice, is heading northeast as we were talking about. The latest skit just came out. Let's see what the ETA is. It looks like it'll be up toward Clifford, Hope, and Hartsville by 23 and 34 after the hour. You'll notice our tornado index is at 9. And as you remember me telling you, if we see it at that high, we know we have a confirmed tornado on the ground. Now, unfortunately, or I should say fortunately, I haven't had to make that call in a long time. But about 10 years ago, we made that call when we saw tornado index at 8.9 because of the other parameters. So this is right on the money. And so if we see that with any of these storms that are in our area now, we will let you know certainly. Here's an ETA update, just came in. Love to give those. So it looks like Brookville, Bath, Riley from 23 to 42 after the hour as it continues to move off to the east-northeast. Jen?
Just looking at some of the rain elements that you were asking about. So the rain that came there into Brookville, which has kind of come in through waves, there was a quick 1 inch of rain that came down with that. Your rainfall rates associated with it, I mean, different cells. Let me clear off some of this other. It's a lot on the map for sure today. Some of the rainfall rates, 4.8 inches an hour.
Wow.
So, I mean, you talk about gully washers. That is like the definition of almost so torrential that you can't even see when driving. That's how heavy the rain is coming down there at Brookville. But also sometimes polluting some of those rainfall estimates, Steve, are sometimes the hail parameters. So I'm going to check in. And there's a possible hail core there as well, there near Brookville. So it's not out of the question that that rainfall rate might be a little bit polluted by the fact that there's probably a little hail there at Mount Haven. They're just south of Brookville on State Route 7. And that hail is, let's see how long it's been trekking. Yeah, it's been popping in and out, but definitely it has been growing with that storm. And the black there, right there on State Road 7, right there near Mount Haven, that's more than likely your hail core happening right now. And this was warned for up to 1 inch diameter hail, and that is obviously something that's probably making its way to the surface right now. So yeah, that tornado warning still in effect until 8:30. So we're looking at 12 minutes left on that. It'll make its way to the state line. If it holds the structure, we'll more than likely see that being continued into Butler County, which you can see the outline here. It actually does go all the way over to the Warren County line. So they're really putting these warnings out early ahead of the worst worst part of the storm, but the worst of it really right now is there just east of the Brookville area. Steve?
Yeah, in fact, that's what I was going to mention. This is now really a warning that's out until 9 o'clock, and the reason why these storm areas by Trenton and Westchester, they're probably pretty close to 9 o'clock because that's what this box would indicate. So we have a new warning coming out here.
Tornado for Fayette.
For Fayette County. Okay, so we are up here. So now this is, we'll watch the red box pop on up there in a moment, and that's the storm that is now tornado warned. So for you folks in and around Connorsville, Columbia, and there's the storm. It's moving off to the northeast. They've got the polygon going almost due north, but with a little bit of a bent there. So this area is now a tornado warned storm until 8:45. Let's take a look at where we think it might be and some of the ETA for you. As we look at it, we want to look by Connorsville first. Looks like right in through here might be the center of it. Jen, I'll throw it to you here in a second to look at the other parameters. Surprisingly, I have to say that we're not seeing a whole lot of rotation according to our 9 first warning Doppler. You'll notice the tornado index, but that doesn't mean that the parameters haven't kind of ticked off from the National Weather Service. There's a threshold. When it hits those parameters, the tornado warning pops. Here's your ETA. The storm itself that's down just around the Columbia area, it looks like. I'm going to check in with Jen in a minute. Connorsville at 8:25, and then Brownsville, which is kind of hidden back there, by 8:34. That whole storm is moving up that way. Technically, the warned area you'll see is cutting just at about Connorsville or so. Kind of surprised about that, but nevertheless, you folks in and around Alkena, Everton, other spots like Alpine, I would still go to your tornado safe locations because this storm is pretty broad. And you'll notice the new skit that just came on has it moving more northeast or so. Let me get a better idea of some of the areas there. Okay, 8:29 for Connorsville. Then it moves up technically by Brownsville. Now, honestly, it's not in the tornado warned area. So the area that is, although the skits say it's really heading this way, we'll see what happens here in the course of what goes on in the next few minutes. But I want you folks all in the areas that I mentioned to go ahead and take your tornado safe location. If you're in this cone here, I think that would be the wisest idea. Jen, where have you got it centered?
So looking at different products. So the hard thing with Fayette County is it is directly in between the Indianapolis radar and the Wilmington radar. So both of which are going to shoot up a little bit higher in the atmosphere to not give us a great look at the surface of where there's rotation. Now, where it would potentially be, I would say, is on State Route 44. They're just due west of Connorsville right now, but it is moving northeast. So more than likely, it's going to cross there at County Road 1 north of Connorsville. But I looked at, this is the Wilmington radar, and then when I switch it over to the Indianapolis radar, same thing at the velocity product. It's just not showing great couplets, great, gate-to-gate shear being picked up within that. So it's not the strongest, but it's not to say it's not there because, as we know, Steve, it's between the two sites, which does make it very difficult sometimes to see those lowest elements of the atmosphere. I also checked shear, the shear rate. I mean, it's loosely there, but it's not what I would say is alarming compared to some of the other cells that we've been monitoring out there today.
Yeah, I think that goes along with what our 9 first warning Doppler is talking about. As we saw that in the 3 to 4 range with a tornado indicator. The other thing is we got to check back here and want to make sure. Jen first pointed out that this storm is moving in this fashion to northern Ripley County. I want to give some folks an idea. This is still, you'll see it's extended through here, and this is a confirmed tornado. So it's out till 8:45 to here. We'll see where it goes. The center of the storm looks to be moving more. There's an update for you. Now it is moving back east again. And you'll see Hartsville and Westport for you folks who are in Ripley County. It's going to be right knocking at your door at about 8:43 if this holds. That storm will be right on the county line. So, yeah, just stay with us. us. We'll keep you updated on that particular storm. At the moment, it looks still structured well. Let me see what the lightning looks like here as well. And hold on a minute. There we go. And yeah, still showing a pretty good area of lightning. Let me just take a look at it. We continue to see lightning strikes growing. We know that the storm is still very strong. And in fact, the idea of that is exactly here. That's over Franklin County. We still have an active tornado warning until 8:30, so it's still a few minutes away. We're looking at this storm continuing moving to the northeast. Let me get down in a little bit tighter here and be able to give you an update as to where it's going. Here's an ETA for you folks. We're looking at Oxford at 8:39 for this very strong storm. Keep in mind, whether it's going to be tornado warned or a severe thunderstorm warning, that means it's just hitting below the threshold to be a tornado warned storm. So don't sleep on this if we start to see a severe thunderstorm warning, as we have across that area, because we still could see some very strong winds associated with it. And in fact, I imagine you folks around Butler County right at the moment are seeing lightning go off like nobody's business. It's all around the Oxford area, stretching down through that tornado warn sign. Jen, a couple of words?
You know, I was looking at, you were talking about the lightning field growing or diminishing, and specifically that cell back by Columbus, the one we've been watching with the tornado that's been on the ground for quite some time. If you look at the last 45 minutes, it went from hundreds, nearly 100 lightning strikes with just that one cell. And as it passed Columbus, the lightning field has shrank a bit. So hopefully that's an indication that that will start to maybe not be such a long track tornado. The other thing that could actually be in our favor regarding that cell, this just coming out of Columbus, you've got Clifford and Hope. You're not quite over to Greensburg yet. Eventually that's I-74 in Batesville. You have to keep in mind that a decent thunderstorm just went through there. So this cell that has been so prolific and has been holding together for so long is now moving into an environment that just got worked over. All the things in the atmosphere just got turned over. So hopefully that will cause this cell here to start to fall apart a little bit before it gets to Batesville. Because Steve, as we saw, Batesville just got almost an inch of rain. So that atmosphere, it's been worked up a bit.
Yeah, no question about it. And I tell you what, since we're approaching the bottom of the hour, I'm going to do a bit of a reset. We are still under a tornado watch for everybody until 3 a.m. What we're following with continuous coverage is the fact that there is a tornado warning here that's out in Franklin County, Indiana, and it is moving off into Butler County. Now, we also have a number of severe thunderstorm warnings. I gotta get that lightning off here again, and you can see them a little better if I do that. There's a tornado warning active also up here for you folks in Fayette County. It is moving north-northeast. That storm is pretty much on top of you right at the moment. Technically, the middle of the storm is 5 minutes away, but I'm sure you're feeling all the effects. You'll see the ETA across the area down to Centerville. That'll be there at 8:50. So this line of storms is not going to stop or all of a sudden fall off. The reason why I say that is something that Jennifer touched on, and that is, as opposed to being already the atmosphere being raked over in front of our confirmed tornado down there in purple, all of this area, whether it's the other half of Butler County, good portion of Hamilton County, and stretching into northern Kentucky from about Kenton, Campbell, Claremont, Warren, you guys haven't seen much, if at all. So as this storm comes to you, and it is a cold front, it's going to raise that really warm, moist air and create these storms out ahead of the storms that we see right now that are just coming into Ohio here, about situated on the Indiana and Ohio border. So as we run it down for you, we've got a warning, severe thunderstorm warning across Dearborn in a sliver of Hamilton County into Boone County till 8:45. You'll notice that this warning actually stretches across Butler County until 9 o'clock. It's going to be the other half of the tornado warned storm that's out for another 3 minutes. Then as we look over to southeast Indiana, it does appear the warning's been dropped in. Is that right, Jen? It looks like it does.
Connorsville is out.
Yeah, it looks like it has. But there's a very powerful storm in that area, so you should take it seriously. So if we had to put see, that structure is still pretty good. You can see the notching right there. Man, it's right by about Riley. If I was in Riley or Oxford or stretching maybe down to Ross, you should probably think about being in your tornado-safe location and continue that. This storm still is very powerful with a lot of rotation going on. Underneath it, Jen mentioned a very good point. We're not seeing as much as we otherwise would. It looks like actually a lot of straight line winds are showing up around here. Let me tag a few of these and see where we stand. 40. 35 down, that looks like a stronger one, 31. So, yeah, I don't see as much of the rotation that's there, but there's still a lot of very strong winds in that area, so just keep that in mind. Jen, what do you got?
Well, Steve, you know, you always talk about our extensive camera network here in the tri-state, and I wanted to quickly dip into a couple of those visuals. This is the sun setting out there in Harrison this evening. You can see those low-hanging clouds. They are about to get walloped with some heavy rain there, but you can see even some of the low-hanging clouds below that. Also out on the west side of town, Westwood, our camera there, also now showing some active rain. Not severe there on the west side of Cincinnati, but the camera's definitely painting the picture of what is rolling in, but specifically here closer to downtown, very ominous. We can hear the rumbles of thunder. And Steve, again, there you see those low-hanging clouds rolling into the city as we stand right now. And I'll keep checking in on the cameras. The new warning that you just heard is Union and Fayette, and that would be until 8:45.
Okay, let's take a look at it on the map, in fact, and I'll clear the rest of this off so we can take a look at it as we do. So 8:45, we continue to see all of these storms just continuing to propagate across the area. The thunderstorms are, as I say, not going to stop just because, you know, we're not seeing anything out in front of these storms. So let's see here where we stand. We have got 9 o'clock for the entire Butler County area. We're talking about right up in through here, 8:45 for Union County. As we stretch down, we still have an active tornado warning to 8:30. Hasn't popped off yet, I think, unless they're going to extend that, and it doesn't look like they are because they've already issued a severe thunderstorm warning. Then we have the other severe thunderstorm warning down here until 8:45. So what's happening is, and you'll also see this, doesn't look like much down here, does it? Let me just take a look at it and see what's going on. It's moving off east-northeast at 49. Here's some ETA information. I'll put it over here behind the storm so you can look at it. But it is within this cone, you'll see what's happening now. We're starting to see development out there and starting to see development over Hamilton County as well. That's what I mean. All of a sudden, there's just these storms that are popping up. You'll see some storms over White Oak, Cheviot, Norwood. And of course, they have the accompanying lightning with them too. I don't put that on, or I try and leave them off. Not too many with the thunderstorms that are right there now. They're not all that strong. We'll see if they continue to grow across the area here. As we look up to the north, you'll notice as we move into Butler County, we're seeing more of that storminess stretching up by Oxford. These are those strong storms that came in from Indiana. Also looks like that's that strong storm that was tornado warned that's moving up through a portion of Fayette County. We continue with the watch, the tornado watch that's here across the tri-state. We're going to start to see more thunderstorms propagating across here. Now, I want to dive down into this confirmed tornado. It is still 8:45. Here's a new skip by Hope where it's close by. So we're looking at getting to Greensburg at 8:52.
The tornado warning that we had in the Batesville area has expired.
Good.
The lightning field, the one that you were just following there, that's why I said, whew, it went from 30 to 7. So the lightning field, the structure on that cell is totally falling apart right now, Steve. And it's great to see because, again, the atmosphere got worked over there. The signs of that will hopefully mean that confirmed tornado becomes something of the past here shortly, because it is really falling apart when you look at the structure.
Okay, good to hear. I like to hear that, that's for sure. As we look at some of the other thunderstorms that are around, you'll notice that one of the strongest ones we have now stretching up through Oxford is about to move through Oxford. Let me give you a little time frame on what's happening and show you here that the end of the storm will be at 8:46. So you got about 14 minutes before this storm has passed you out that way. You'll you'll notice it here toward the end of that storm. And then West College Corner, end of the storm at 8:45. So you don't have much longer before this is all going to go away and things are going to be quiet for you folks. And we'll see how this then plays out. And we're starting to see the propagation of a little bit more in the way of some light thunderstorms across the area. We don't have many really lightning strikes showing up in this panel. You'll notice it's just 7 right here. So yeah, that's some good news for us. I do think that this line that comes through is going to end up picking up some steam, so to speak, because you're talking about some fresh atmosphere out this way and down through northern Kentucky. We're looking at some of the storms that are just out through and to the north of us. Those are all heading there. There's a new tornado warning outside of Terre Haute. It'll be interesting to see what the Weather Service does with this particular storm. Jen mentioned it has started to diminish, moving through that raked atmosphere, so you folks in Batesville in a better position than you have been. Let's see what's happening with some, I want to just check the Indianapolis radar here.
Speaking of the Indianapolis chat room, they said that our long track supercell has officially weakened considerably in the last 10 minutes near Columbus. They're going to continue to monitor it, but the tornado threat has likely ended. Good
to hear. Good to hear, especially for you folks in the Batesville area. That's for doggone sure. So yes, we're still looking at these storms propagating in parts of southeast Indiana, and then we're getting a few that are across Hamilton County as well. This line, if you were to draw an imaginary line from north to south, that's what's trying to create some of these thunderstorms. We'll see how this works out. At present, there's not a whole lot that's going on across the area at the moment. Looking at it here, you'll notice there's much more in the way of strong storms up toward Dayton and out to the northwest of us as well. The storms are now moving across the greater Cincinnati area. We're not seeing a real strong development right at the moment, which is some good news. We're not getting much in the way of anything there, I don't think. Yeah, okay, that's right. I have the Indianapolis radar on. Hold on a minute. Let me switch it over.
I do have a storm report.
Yes.
Remember how we were talking about Pentown, just there east of Batesville?
Right.
They had a wind gust of 78 miles per hour.
Wow, straight line wind of 78. Although I think that was near the...
where we had some of the rotation.
Yeah, right there as well.
But it looks like they had more, at least wind is what they've confirmed so far. And then this is just downstream from that same cell. Again, the sky there in Harrison still just looking so ominous, Steve. I mean, especially there on the left or the right-hand side of the frame. You can see just how low-hanging that is there on the horizon. Yeah, there's no question about it. That is, you can see the difference between the cloud and where the center of the cloud is. Looking at some of the shear that has been happening, you'll notice, see this red shade, some very strong shear was happening out by Batesville. That's when that rotation was happening around that area. The good news is, as we talked about, now that has started to lessen. And let's see, trying to look at anything else around this area. I don't see much. As we look at, see here, hold on a second, let me just get this. Boom. And yeah, that storm is out there. I'm looking for that red-green togetherness, you know. And when we see that, that's an indicator that that storm has got some rotational properties. Now, we also, this will also show us some of the wind speeds that are happening within the storm. And you'll notice by Dillsboro, they're kind of a bright green there. Let me just see what's happening. If I can get that one, 45. So it's not anything too bad. There you go, 57. So this has some wind gusts that are like a severe thunderstorm. So you folks in the Dillsboro area, just keep that in mind. Even though technically you're not under a warning or anything else, it does appear that you're seeing some pretty strong wind gusts across the area at the moment. Thunderstorms are picking up a little bit in northern Hamilton County. Out by Batesville, there's some thunderstorms, but again, that has been diminishing. And then those thunderstorms are almost out of there for you folks in Oxford. I'm waiting for some more thunderstorms to really start generating. The good news here is it doesn't look like that's really the case. We're in pretty good shape. Yeah, we just have we have two warnings of concern right now. The one in Butler County, that one still goes until 9 o'clock this evening, and that does extend a little bit into Franklin, but it has already passed out of Franklin. The other warning we have in effect still is the one for Connorsville. A lot of lightning with it, but the rotation there has died down. Steve, you also just mentioned Dillsboro and the gusty winds there. A friend of mine mind Dave, he's watching right now. He said that where that cell is at, he says, not a drop of rain. Literally nothing. It's just the wind.
Okay, good to hear. Good to hear. That's, you know, we want to hear about the good news as opposed to some of the ugly news that we've had to report here in the last hour or so. At present, we still have, keep in mind, we still have a severe thunderstorm warning until 9 o'clock for you folks in Butler County. Now, it looks like the threatening storm is down here, that is south of Riley or southeast. Got a new skid in. Let's see what we're looking at here for ETA. And as we do, bring that down so you can see it. And it's 7 Mile at 8:46 down to what would be Miamisburg at 9:05 as it moves off to the northeast at almost 60 mind you, miles an hour. We're also seeing pretty good rotation within this storm. You'll notice down here my tornado indicator at 4. So I'm not overly concerned, but right at the moment, it's something that we're going to have to keep an eye on. This storm is still a very powerful storm that's moving up toward Trenton and in that area. And so the other locations would be New Miami and 7 Mile. It looks like it may skirt part of Hamilton as it moves up potentially toward Middletown as well. So you folks there just know a very powerful storm's heading your way. We're seeing a lot of lightning north of you, but not a whole lot in and around that storm, although I just see there's a couple of lightning bolts starting to increase here. You'll see them here. There's more than there just already were. As we go under the storm itself, looks like it's overall some straight line winds, meaning we don't see a lot of rotation there at the moment. I'm looking for some. Maybe there's some back in through here and where we don't have data. What happens is...
It's very faint near Millville, like very, very faint. Yeah,
okay.
sorry to interrupt.
No, that's okay.
I was just looking at it and watching it in the loop, and it's just barely there near Millville at Route 20, US 27.
Right, and I was just going to mention is the fact that what happens, though, sometimes, see where we've got missing data there, is the data goes out by the radar and gets hit on the way back, and it creates this lack of coverage, and or if it really gets kind of lost, we call it gray ghost because it ends up being more of a gray color. You'll notice with in the area down here to the south, let me get that out of here, and right up through here by Cleves, we do have some little bit of wind here going toward the radar. So there's some really weak kind of rotation, but it's so large, it's really not a big factor at this point. I'm really thinking that we're in pretty good shape here across the tri-state at the moment. I want to stay with coverage from the standpoint that we do have these thunderstorms. I'm glad they're not blowing up. I mean, we do have this one here that's obviously a severe thunderstorm warning that's moving through Trenton, but we're not seeing other development that are just to the east. I'm kind of surprised that's not happening just yet. Jen, can you put on a little looping here so we can see what's happening with the development of storms, and let's see if that's in the positive as we move through.
Absolutely.
Because right now,
it's definitely lost a lot of intensity. I was kind of thinking of the same concerns of, like, you know, are we seeing any winds? And I've been diving deep into a lot of these, especially there in Butler County, because that's one of our, you know, few warnings that's out there right now. And even looking at, like, you'll notice that in the last few frames, it does pop up in intensity near New Miami, so it's pulsing up a little bit. But even looking at some of the velocity values inside of it, I'm not seeing wind speeds at this moment that are just screaming like big issue, like tagging that at 37, maybe around 63 miles per hour there, but that's on the backside of the rain. So it could even be an outflow boundary coming off the backside of that thunderstorm as it passes through. But I mean, definitely, there is no doubt you've got some really, really heavy rain there now moving into 7 Mile. That's the pink there. That would go kind of continue up to the northeast into Middletown here as well. But that's about the worst of it I see right now. Dual pole hail. The hail is being picked up, that's for sure, there on Eaton Road. It just updated near Mill Road, there near 7 Mile. So we do definitely have at least a little bit of a hail core. Steve, I would say probably around penny-sized hail at this point, maybe up to a nickel, but I would not consider this quarter-sized hail.
Okay, let me take a look at the storm that's just to the south of that that's moving into Warren County. You folks are kind of getting into the party as well. The story is this storm that's right here, Westchester, Sharonville, and as you look at it, that'll be moving up by Mason. I I think. There it is. And it's all moving up in that fashion. This storm has been fairly strong, but it hasn't been severe yet, although I would think as it moves up into this untouched air that's around that area that we could start to see this storm continue to increase in intensity. At present, it's not really trying too hard. It's just being a regular thunderstorm at the moment, not seeing the very strong winds that we've seen in some areas or rotation as well. You folks in parts of northern Kentucky, look at this. You guys are almost dry as a bone. VV over to Maysville. I'm wondering where that line is in the cold front. I would imagine we still have a backside here. This might be what is a prefrontal trough, and then the cold front is actually out here. You know, we are talking about a watch that's out until 3 a.m. for the entire area. There's a reason why that is. So as I look at things, I'm believing that this is probably some structure that's out ahead of the cold front itself before the cold front gets in. The cold front is probably definitely back through here.
It's approaching Indianapolis right now.
Yeah, right in there. And there you go. There's the cold front. So in other words, this area may not be enough because this is like a weakened area instead of being a cold front. And what's happening is this cold front ends up plowing under this heavy warm air. So here comes the front. It plows under and it lifts all of this air that's there, that warm, moist air, and that's how we end up getting the thunderstorm development. So I think maybe that's why we're not seeing a whole lot here, and why you'll notice out through here, in fact, there's an active tornado warning there, it looks like, in and around outside of Columbus on the other side of Terre Haute. So that cold front, when it reaches you folks down in through northern Kentucky, we could be talking about development rather rapidly as it moves into that untouched air. We've seen it, hundreds of times across the tri-state, where all of a sudden that untouched air that is especially a lot of times to the east of where we're looking at a cold front move in, and as it does, all of a sudden this just blows up. So from you folks from VV out to Maysville, just don't sleep on the fact you still have the chance for severe weather. This isn't over. And for folks who are also out to the east, like in Claremont or Brown or also Adams and Highland County, same thing for you as well. So this is coming through right now and kind of doing what it does, and hasn't really continued to get much stronger as it moves into Warren County. But that's likely going to change, as I say, when we see the cold front coming up. Jen, little thoughts here?
Just looking at some of the other cameras, just trying to see what's out there, because I hear you talk about all the time the afternoons, our most extensive camera network here in the tri-state. But there's the lightning in Hamilton, so it is rolling right there through central Butler County. The wind's not looking overly substantial there. I just heard from a friend in Somerville, which is due north of Hamilton. He said they only had a wind gust at 35 miles per hour. The camera at Harrison there still looks ominous as it has, but like you mentioned, downtown, we're in that middle ground where things have not been overly severe. Amazing sunset happening right now when you look at that western sky, but it's thankfully has been what appears to look like it's diminishing in strength, although near Miltonville, and they're just to the west now of Middletown. Look at that hail core. Fresh lightning strikes near Thomas Road and Eagle Creek Road, and there in Miltonville, definitely probably what is left of our hail core, and the worst part of the cell that is left right now up there in Butler County, and that goes there just north of the Hamilton area.
Right on. I'm looking at the same idea you are, and I was just looking at over two, and I continue to see lightning strikes popping up. Now, let me bring this in a little bit closer. So so what we see here is 22 or something, 20 lightning strikes. You'll see some of the heaviest rain. Got a new warning coming out we'll have for you here momentarily. Yep. Let's see it pop on the screen.
Warren, Clinton, and Butler.
Okay, so as you look at it, you'll notice here the folks are saying that this storm is strong enough that it's going to maintain itself of being this severe storm that it is. It's moving up through and into Warren County. So let's talk to you folks here for a second as you're now getting into the severe weather line. Okay, so we're looking at from Waynesville over to Wilmington, down to Morrow, certainly Lebanon, South Lebanon. Let's do a little ETA for you and show you what's up. Oops, missed it. Hold on a second. Should have it right there. Hold on here. Move this in. There we go. Hold on, not getting down there enough. There we go. And there's the cone of the severe thunderstorm that's moving toward you. And let's see some of the parameters moving. Look at this. Holy goodness, it's moving at 76 miles an hour to the northeast. Wow, that is moving. So this is going to be very quick across the area. That ETA is going to be moving right from Sharonville down to Westchester in the next few minutes, and you'll see all the way down through. In fact, we just get this update, Mason at 8:49, showing that as well, right through the severe thunderstorm area. So we're looking at what is that warning out until 9:30 for what I was just talking about in the ETA locations. The thunderstorm itself is down by South Lebanon. It's moving up into the northeast at 76. Wow. And so it's going to move right through the two counties here shortly, as I was showing you. You also notice we've got this other piece of this storm moving up to the corner of Warren County. This is the severe thunderstorm warning that is still out until now. Wait a minute, if I got that, it's so hard to see. Let's see there. Yeah, that's up through there, and that's up through 9:30. So, in fact, look at Fairfield down there. Okay. A lot of thunderstorms now growing across the Hamilton area. Jen had mentioned that across that region. And in what you see in the box, and let me take out what's north of there, and that will be more right about there. So we're talking about 56 lightning strikes in the box that you see, the predominant amount stretching out by New Miami, Hamilton, down through Belmont. So that's the kind, when you start getting that bunching lightning, that's the problem. See how the lightning is starting to increase? Yep. This storm's growing in intensity is what's going on. And so it's moving up to the northeast. Let me get a little ETA on this for you folks. The problem is the center or the edge of the storm. Well, this is interesting. You see this little piece that's happening down here. This is going to warrant a little reflection. Here's the story, Ross, at 8:56 to get to that part of the storm. But it does look like this other piece that's growing up by New Miami, and now the computer picks up on it. You'll notice it's right up there with one of our skits, in other words, our little information arrows.
Steve, that cell near Ross is rotating very loosely, but west of Ross, there is some rotation.
It doesn't surprise me to say that because we're starting to see that little hook here that's happening. Are you looking at SRV?
I was looking at storm relative, yeah.
There, okay. So there is a little rotation in there, and here you go. Okay, just lost it. That's how quick it is. So there was some, and those bright areas of green that you saw and then pop off with the next scan, that's how fast this happens. And you'll notice that one's a little bit brighter, but not a big deal. The other ones were quite bright. They were probably at 50. And so we were talking about at the moment, see how this is 32, but you also notice we've got green and red boxes. There's one back here that's stretching out this way. See behind me, let me just tag this and see what that says, 34. Yeah, but there's likely probably 50-mile-an-hour gusts that's heading toward the radar. I don't see any strong, well, there it is up there by Ross. That's, yeah, up by Ross, there's a little bit more right through there. And yeah, there's a little rotation showing right through this area now. Let's see here, right in and around there. And so it's weak, but it is there, you're right. And it's just to the south of actually the warning area. It does look like, though, that we continue to see these storms grow in intensity up that way. Jen, let me throw it over to you so I can clean up the map a little bit.
That works. So something I was noticing, because we keep talking about what we see developing and kind of getting ahead of it for you at home. I want you guys to look at what happened with a cell that started as just a couple tiny little lightning strikes there at Aurora. It goes through Lawrenceburg, and look at how it has grown as it is entering now the west side of Cincinnati there at Addiston. So this kind of pulsed up, and it's also running into an atmosphere that has not been touched by rainfall. And Steve talked many a times about how, you know, if the atmosphere hasn't been utilized yet and hasn't been lifted or messed with too much, that you can get those storms that develop very quickly. So we are seeing that coming into the city's west side, not severe at the moment, but something to watch. And also, I was noticing a very similar scenario of what just came out of Newtown. You can see where it passes there at Milford, crossing 131, and then going into Newtonsville. Fresh lightning strikes with it on 131 out there in Claremont County. So an area that, again, hasn't seen rain yet, but you now are starting to see some thunderstorms, even some black there on the radar, indicating probably some hail. So we're starting to get a little more, Steve, just south there of the warning area, and I'll continue diving in and looking for rotation as well.
Okay, very good. And as we kind of do a little reset here as we come to the top of the hour, we've been in continuous coverage because of the number of severe storms and, of course, some tornado warnings that have been going off across the tri-state. At the moment, we are still under a tornado watch for everybody until 3 a.m. We've had some severe thunderstorm warnings across Butler, now Warren, stretching into Clinton County, warning out in front. So for you folks in the Wilmington area, I know you're not seeing anything right at the moment, but that's going to change because of the thunderstorms heading your way. Now, you'll also notice back in behind here by Indianapolis, there are more thunderstorms, and they're all severe. That, as we've now delved into in the last few minutes, are severe thunderstorm warnings. Also notice this new one that popped up right adjacent to about Connorsville, stretching in Rush County there by Rushville. Now, we're not seeing any propagation out by there at the moment. There's a slightly rotating storm that's out here by Batesville, but this hasn't been an issue, and so we're in pretty good shape there. There is an ETA for you folks that are out by that thunderstorm, but right now that's not severe. Out across the rest of the tri-state, we continue to see these storms lifting off to the northeast. So for you folks that are in by Warren County and parts of Butler County, this whole storm system, and you'll see it here as you look at it, moving off into the northeast. And as we check it for you, I'm not as good with my left hand here. Hold on.
Me either.
And then you'll see that we have got pretty good rotation there. You'll see our tornado index is up almost by 5. So for you folks who are by Trenton and Lebanon and Springsboro and Waynesville and Centerville, this storm's moving up to you. It is a severe storm. There have been wind gusts to 60 miles an hour. And I'm noticing one very important thing. Take a look at our information box down here. As you look at it, take a look at the hail size, 2.25. During our newscast tonight, Jen had mentioned the fact that we were going to see a larger size hail. The reason why that's happening is because we're in an environment where all of our storm threats are elevated. And so that's a good example that we're seeing 2 inches of hail out of the storm system itself. So again, we're watching these storms moving up through Warren County, a lot of the tri-state under some pretty good conditions at the moment. The problem is those pretty good conditions, for instance, into Kenton County or Boone or Campbell County, you guys are going to see yours as the cold front comes in. That air has been untouched, as Jen mentioned, and I have, as we've talked about. So this is not over just yet. We're talking about probably a little lull for some folks, with the exception of Butler and Butler and Warren counties, as this continues to move off to the northeast. This storm in Georgetown looks like it might be trying to get going, not much as it stands right now, but that's what happens, is these separate cells end up growing because they're out on their own and they just take the environment in. And then all of a sudden they just explode, and that storm becomes a riser, starts moving up, and we start seeing that severe weather out of it. So we'll keep an eye down there. As we look at things at the moment, though, the one thing that we have is this severe thunderstorm warning now until 9:30. This storm is almost in 2 pieces, but the main threat is here still in Butler County. We're talking about a storm that's producing a ton of lightning across there, really. 131 strikes. I mean, we're upwards of almost, 1 a minute. So we'll see if that continues, and more strikes seem to grow in this storm as well. It's bothersome that that's happening. It's kind of redeveloping. There's a lineup here that's happening because as you look at it, those storms continue up almost to about Middletown. So we're looking through the entire county, down through about Ross. We lost that little hook there. That was where we had seen a little rotation earlier. We're seeing some torrential rain rates. Jen, you were talking about 4 inches an hour?
4 inches an hour. Yeah, but it was also near hail core.
Okay.
So I'm kind of, I don't know about that one.
Okay. Meaning that kind of
polluted it a bit.
May disturb the overall kind of counting of how it's how much is falling. As you look at it, then we're still watching this up to the northeast. The storm is moving pretty quickly at 4. Oh boy, yeah, we've got a BTI of 7 right now. I'm wondering if we're not going to see
On the Fairfield one?
on the one that's right up here by New Miami. So we're looking at a very rotational storm right at the moment. Let's see if we can see it here. If we go under the storm, I got to take the lightning off. I leave that on so you guys can see it. We're getting mostly just, well, there's a big hole here. So I wonder if that's not just all green. We're not getting all of the, there's some down there by Forest Park. Let's just tag those and see what we got. It'd be a very broad rotation, but nevertheless, yeah, see, that's 50. And then let's see what's going on 44. And so, okay, so you'll see what's happening here is we've got, again, the way this works is we've got wind going toward and away from the radar. So if you were to put a pen, and I use this occasionally because it really tells the story. If you put a pen in your hand and you go like this and roll it back and forth, then you get that roll in the atmosphere, creating the rotation, which then the updraft picks it up and it becomes a tornado. Now, I'm not saying that's what's happening just yet here, but I am saying that this area through there is really starting to show some interesting kind of things right now, right by that Forest Park area. So we'll see what goes on. We were showing you there in and around, right up in through this couplet here, I think is where it was, wasn't it? Yeah, there's the 7.4. Yeah, I wonder if this isn't a lot of green that's just not showing, and so we're getting a very broad rotation at the moment. Usually if we get a 7.4 and we're on, yeah, we normally just okay, let's see here. So so you can see almost a little bit of a curvature in some of the precipitation too, stretching across Fairfield here. So yeah, there's some broad rotation that's happening out this way. So that's a little concerning just for you folks ahead of the storm, and that would be out by, folks in Warren County. Jen, you got a few words?
I was looking at the same thing. I checked the CVG velocity because that would be, south of there, looking up at that thunderstorm, and it doesn't have a strong couplet either. So I'm not, like you're kind of seeing, it's like everything's broad, nothing's overly tight where we would have a funnel cloud, but maybe just storm structure itself is starting to rotate loosely. But I'm not seeing any big indications that there's a likely tornado in that area, which is good. We don't want to see that, but we are watching it closely.
Yeah, the only thing that bothers me is the computer's smarter than either one of us.
Oh, I agree. They are smarter.
The other is the fact that until that drops that BTI, I'm still concerned. We did see a big hole in our storm relative velocity. That's where we see the idea of where the winds are heading. So I'm betting that area that we lost is probably very green, and that's what's creating that. But it's a storm that we're watching nonetheless, and we'll see what happens. As you look at that area, let me just give you a quick ETA. That storm is going to be in Mason in 16 minutes, and you'll notice down through Lebanon in 24 if it holds together. You folks across that area already seeing some thunderstorms and have. Yeah, see, the computer's re-looking at this storm now back in that same area. That's a brand new skit. There's Mason still at 9:16, so now it's 15 minutes away. And again, down to Lebanon. Hail size still saying, let's take a look at the dual pole, see if you're seeing some hail showing up down that way.
None.
I don't know. Boy,
I know. I'm looking for the same because if you look at the structure of the cell itself, and you see how it has almost that traditional supercell structure where you have a larger shield, a hail core, and then a kind of curl back here down toward the bottom that would indicate the beginnings of a supercell. But none of the elements are showing up. You should have a hail core. I'm not seeing a hail core there. There should be a high wind field here. I'm not seeing a high wind field. It's very interesting. I see why the computer is picking up on it because it's showing a lot of the structure, but not popping really clearly on some of our, at least, analysis tools right now.
Yeah, not just yet. You're right about that. That little bit that I saw on the radar, do you have ILN or do you have our 9 first warning Doppler on?
So I've got ILN, and then our Doppler. I mean, the structure looks similar. I mean, it looks very similar switching over to our radar. And even, let's see what CVG, what their radar looks like.
Yeah, see, this continues. This lightning continues to grow all across there, and we're starting to see some rounded nature to the reflectivity. It sure does look like it, and there's the very heavy precipitation. So anyway, instead of us continuing to worry about this right now, know that it's a strong storm, and it is actually severe. It's a severe storm, and it continues to get stronger, it looks like. You'll notice the lightning popping on there. So just know that if you're upstream northeast of this storm, and it's moving quickly at 49 miles an hour, it's still moving up into Warren County. The storm is just going to step on top of itself, so to speak, with more storminess up through that area. Let me take that off and you'll see what I'm talking about. There's a lot of very stormy conditions showing up from Middletown all the way to Lebanon, down through the other side of Westchester up toward about Hamilton or so. We continue to see that reflectivity signature. I wonder if the computer's not out ahead of this. You'll see how it continues to propagate, a little tail there. We'll see what develops. I don't want anything, as Jen said, to develop, not to be right. I'd rather be, of course, wrong.
Now, we do have some confirmed hail coming in right now. A friend of mine lives in Beckett Ridge. Says they've got hail.
Beckett Ridge, Westchester.
Yep, and the National Weather Service said that their best indications of hail right now are actually with this portion of the cell there near Oneida, Mayfield, Lemon, just there to the east of Trenton. That's where they're estimating hail at 1 to 1.75 inches. And so that's right there along, what is that, State Route, if I can get in close enough and see it. But yeah, it's State Route 63. So around that, near Oakland as well. That's where the worst hail core is, at least for the warning that we have in place.
Okay, very good. So again, as we look at the broad picture, we're still under this tornado watch, and we still have some severe thunderstorm warnings that we're covering because we're seeing some very strong winds. Originally, Jen, would you look up what they said about this original storm? Was it winds at 60 or greater than that? I'm just curious. But I'll tell you something. There's no question in my mind that this is growing in intensity here. See how the computer is sticking down the skits right into here. So I'm hopeful that this doesn't continue to grow like this. Get the lightning off of there and take a look at this. Yeah, that's that rotational. It's really a strange thing to see that it's up at 7 right now for you folks in and around that area. We're talking about Lebanon Street by Carson Road by State Route 63. So you folks in and around that area know where I'm talking about.
It was 60 and quarter-sized hail.
60 and quarter-size hail, okay. So, yeah, it looks like a pretty rural area across the region. So that's good news. The ETA would be 9:15, so about 10 minutes away. This core that we're watching is heading for Lebanon, and then shortly thereafter, Waynesville. And we continue to see large-size hail, according to the computer, falling from there.
Yep,
now
and
an
actually,
inch and a half.
Dennis Messer just was there in Fairfield Township. He said they just actually had some hail that came through, so it is making it to the surface. And that's that lower portion that we've been watching that just came out of Ross and Fairfield, and now it's lifting there more into Westchester. So that there is a hail core there. People are confirming it.
Okay. So there's no question then that this storm continues to be one that is a severe thunderstorm warning. That's why we have it out for the next about 25 minutes here. This is the one that we're watching right at the moment. It's in fact a giant polygon. I got to pull it out even more. It stretches up by Centerville, up by Cedarville. Xenia's up in there, I believe, too, right? Isn't that right where Xenia? Yeah, there's Xenia there. So this polygon stretches across the large swath up in through several counties. So this storm's not going anywhere except continuing to move up to the northeast. Let me get the middle of this storm. Waynesville, the middle of the storm will be there at about, 9:14 or so. Then Xenia by 29 after the hour. You'll notice that point that we've been watching now is down to a tornado index of 3.8, which is good news, and smaller size hail. So that's really nice to see. As we move down the storm itself, let me bring it in here a little bit closer closer by Butler and stretching just into Warren County now in this part of the storm. And this one also is part of the severe storms, and it's going to be out by Springboro at 9:22, Waynesville at 9:31, not showing any rotational properties, but probably some pretty good straight line wind gusts. And then we've been watching this other part of the storm here down by Westchester that's out by Fairfield. You folks in the Westchester area probably seeing, I'm guessing, a fair amount of lightning. Let's see. Yep, sure is. We've got a lot of it showing around here, and just for 103 strikes in the last 15 minutes. So that's pretty good lightning field showing it across this area from Princeton. There's your Beckett Ridge just getting out of the storm that Jen mentioned just a moment ago. We continue to see this storm then, right heading for South Lebanon as it continues to move out to the northeast. You'll notice that the skits, when the skits center on something, that's the center of that particular storm. And so as a result, this is why that storm is moving up to Lebanon, and well, it's that part of the storm still seeing a pretty good tornado index. So I got to believe the computer. It's never been wrong in 20 years that I've used it. Our 9 first warning Doppler is not only first, but it's the best. We have the strongest signal that goes out and takes a look at things as well. And we use this in conjunction with our other radars, like the one in Wilmington as well. I'm on the Wilmington radar here right at the moment, stretching across that area, and it continues to see this very strong area. Boy, it's already under a severe thunderstorm warning. It's definitely a severe thunderstorm. Jen, couple other things. See anything else going on?
So I've got hail reports coming in. I don't know if the folks in the back want to take this full. We might actually see it a little bit better, but this is hail that just came in from Butler County. Leslie King watching from Monroe on Hankins Road. I would definitely call that probably about 1 inch in diameter. You can see the cracks there in the concrete there in front of her house. Also, Debbie Green watching right now this evening in Middletown, Steve. She says she lives along Route 4 at the Oxford-Trenton exit, and she said they just got a ton of hail when that storm came overhead. So it is definitely producing hail. And thank you for those of you at home right now sending in your reports. More 1 inch hail reported 1 mile southeast of Middletown as well to the National Weather Service.
Okay, very good. I was just taking a look at seeing if we're having any flooding issues. This hasn't, while it's moving, the storm is moving, there's still such a wide swath. I'm wondering how things are going across there. So let's see how we do. Let's take a look at the last couple of hours here and show you how things have gone. And as you look at it, clearly this is showing some of those really powerful storms dropping a lot of rain in the last 3 hours, as well as the other storms that have moved through. Let's get this right here, and I'll show you how much we got. As you look at it, we're almost 1.5 inches there. We're stretching back toward, well, let me go ahead and bring this in so we can see what we're looking at here. And that's out by the Batesville area, Brookville, about the same. And we're looking at other, well, not even any rain, you'll see, has happened much across northern Kentucky. It's all been in southeast Indiana and stretching up into Butler County or so. And that whole darker green you see is about 1.5 inches or 2 inches of rain, but that's over a very short time frame of 3 hours. So it's a good indicator to show you what's going on around here with this very heavy rain that we've seen. We continue to watch this because we have seen way too much in the way of potential severe weather across the area, and just want to notify folks, especially right now up by Warren and Clinton County, as the storm's really on the slower side, even though it's supposedly moving at about 40 miles an hour. You'll notice that we've got this storm that's stretching over about from just southern Springboro down to just to the north of Westchester or so, and this continues to move off. So for you folks, especially in Butler County, we've got another growing storm over Midland there. I see some lightning that are flashing across the area. But in the panel that you see, we have had lightning every minute across this area. Now, I grant you it's a pretty vast area. But for Butler County, let me bring it down here. So except for a couple of exceptions, we're still at 138 strikes in the last 15 minutes. And a little bit of some inflow in here, and in fact, you got a blue spike. That indicates to us that we've got the severe hail, and there it is at 1 inch that's falling. Let's see where it is. Right now, by it looks like, let me get the lightning off.
Ooh, I just got a hail photo. I got to get this downloaded from Monroe.
Okay,
Big.
cool. Hill rest right in there as well. So it's moving off this particular part of the storm by State Route 63 and just to the northeast of South Lebanon, in and around Hillcrest. We've got some 1-inch hail falling across the area. Jen, you said you got some pictures.
Loading it in right now. So this, there you can see for size perspective.
I'd say ping pong.
Easily. I mean, more than golf ball. This is from Becky Bryant Taylor.
Wow,
she's in Monroe.
Yeah, that's large. Now that I see it full like that, yeah, that's definitely bigger than ping pong.
Yeah, so thanks so much, Becky, for sending that in. We got it on air as quickly as we could. But yeah, that's a decent sized hailstone. And, you know, when you talk about severe thunderstorm warnings and the base minimum is 1 inch in diameter, that's and then some, for sure.
Yeah, well, you know, that's right. And again, our radar is picking up that larger size hail that was falling.
For sure.
So, yeah, great. Thank you very much. It was Becky?
Yes, Becky.
Oh, that was nice of you, Becky. Thank you for doing that. That ground truth really helps, tells everybody else what to expect as well. So as it's always important to say, please don't put yourself in harm's way in any way. And please be very careful if you are out in the weather, especially with these storms that are showing the severity that they've been shown. So lots and lots of rain. It'll be very interesting when this column of rain leaves the area. It's training somewhat, moving across the same spots. Keep in mind, this storm was down by Ross and then now has moved up across the entire Warren County area. So we're seeing a lot in the way of some heavy rain. Otherwise, oh, look what this is going on over here. Let's take a look. You'll see it's the severe thunderstorm warning is now butt up against Fayetteville County for us. The other thing I see here too is that's a shear marker, that orange one. And yeah, there it is. That means there's rotation in the storm. And you'll notice our radar network is showing as much as almost 7 on the tornado index. And that canister indicates that there's rotation at the surface. And if you look at it right down here, this is trying to really kind of get it together in that pattern that we see, this S-shaped pattern. I wonder what, well, I'd have to go out to the Indiana radar, but let me say this. For you folks in Fayette County, stay on top of things. We're looking at this storm potentially heading for you, and then another one that used to be tornado warned that's be heading for about Franklin and Batesville area as well. Okay, I'm looking at stuff that's nothing going on too much with this storm down by, what is it, right on the border of Highland and Adams County. So the only thing that we're really following now is watching this storm move out to the northeast with its severe hail that's showing up. See that blue spike that's there? That means 1 inch or greater. Some of the other parts of the storm, just want to see the front end of it. Yeah, not much in the way of hail. You folks are seeing pretty good thunderstorms there that are moving out of the county. Otherwise, just lots of rain coming down there. A little growing system that's out here for you in Dearborn and also Franklin County, approaching southern part of Butler County. Yeah, Jen.
I mean, I guess it's good that it's not worse. It's nice to see that we're not seeing any tight couplets showing up, no rotation that's popping up, not seeing any high wind fields. It really has evolved a lot into that more hail event, which we have gotten confirmation of over and over again there in Butler County. I will say that for our friends down to the south, I just got some pictures out of Burlington. Somebody was watching more of the southern sky and showed these big, huge, towering cumulonimbus clouds, and I'll try to get those pulled in here shortly. But you can see what is happening there for those of you in northern Kentucky. If you're watching the show in the distance or some of that lightning in the distance, it's what's happening down near Paris and Lexington. Now, this is all slowly lifting to the north. We do have a cell that's trying to move there into Pendleton County that's starting to grow. No lightning associated with it, Steve. So that's kind of one of those indicators we wait for that you've been monitoring. It's coming out of Barry and will come into Falmouth, but no warnings as it stands right now for anybody in northern Kentucky. It's just the one there that exists, which is still just the torrential downpour and the lightning field. That is what's happening in really right over Lebanon right now in central portions of Warren County. Even Waynesville seeing a lot of lightning at this moment.
Yeah, and here's the big picture once again as we hit about the quarter hour, and you'll notice that we are still under the tornado watch until 3 a.m. And the reason why this is out for so long is because this is just kind of the first round. There's going to be likely another round of this, and that is happening that's out here by Indianapolis. This is the cold front that's out here. If you're just joining us, this is what we've determined is the cold front, and as a result, it's going to be moving into to that fresh, moist air that's very buoyant and quick to move to create thunderstorms. So we're going to see likely, well, hopefully not, but likely would be the right term, down through this area of Columbus, start to see some thunderstorms. If we don't see that, that would be great news for us, obviously. Now, this is moving off to the east-northeast, and if it does that, and there's storms down here to the south and stay to the south of us, we might just hit that very famous fake wall that's right in the middle. How many times, if you've been around this area, and I've seen it so many times, is all of a sudden this breaks apart and moves like that across the tri-state. Yeah, Jen.
So I was checking the National Weather Service chat as well, because they're monitoring a lot of stuff for us as we are also broadcasting tonight. Pardon me. They did mention that they're seeing that the storm is tightening there in Warren County, in central Warren County, specifically near Lebanon. So I started going through the different parameters just to see what we are showing on our radar as well. If you turn off the lightning, see that there, Steve? A little bit of shear starting to pop up just east of the Lebanon area. They're on I-71, so really between South Lebanon and Lebanon. It just showed up in like the last 2 or 3 scans, so it has not been pronounced, but that little bit of tightening that they mentioned, it's evident out there.
Yeah, there's no question about it. I think the computer's smarter than we are, and as a result, I think it's been seeing some of this happening. It's just not at a level that's really showing as hard as it could. But I think some of those aspects are happening within this storm. We've seen everything, including, you'll see what's going on down here by South Lebanon now. We're starting to get a little tail to this structure. And let's just check the, see, here's what we're looking at here. See this brighter red stretching down to about South Lebanon. And all of a sudden, we've got this big zero that's going on across that area that's likely green. Given the fact of what we're seeing, what the National Weather Service has put out, that is likely some of the rotation that's happening. This skid is what we call a mesocyclone, meaning it's showing upper level rotation in the atmosphere. So you'll notice where it's being placed and across that area. It's moving east-northeast at 49. This storm is a very powerful and strong storm. You'll see the lightning field that's across there, Lebanon, up by Waynesville as it continues on its way to the northeast. Here's some of the ETAs for you folks who are there as well. My guess is it's dropping some pretty good rain in that area. Let me pop on the shear myself here. Okay, so as we look at it and bring it down by us, you saw that when Jen was showing it. This thing is like trying to get it together, so to speak, and let's hope that it doesn't. But you'll notice there's no red within there. A moment ago, Jen was showing that it was. All right, let's see where we stand here. What is that for, Jen? We have an alert going off, and I'm waiting to see where it pops up.
It'd be a severe thunderstorm warning for Fayette, Warren, Clinton County, Highland County. Interesting.
Wait a minute, not Fayette. That's Fayette, Ohio.
Fayette, Ohio. I apologize.
Okay,
but
that's
Warren
all right.
County,
No, that's right.
So
there it is. There, pop on now.
So kind of reissuing for the same zone. This new one is until 10 o'clock for this evening.
Yep.
And the parameters it's going with are winds of 60, quarter-size hail.
Yeah, this is for just a slice of you folks up by New Vienna. I think really, is this got real properties? Let's see here. Well, it's moving really quick. That's about it. Not a lot of lightning. What about the SRV? Hard to tell. We're looking at the at that. Let's take a look at the shear. No shear there. So I think the reason why they're doing that is they're warning out ahead, which is most likely for the storm that we've been talking about, because you'll notice how the storm is moving off to east, well, northeast east, and so it's heading for Sabina, and the warning went out from there down through New Vienna. So it's this storm that we've been following that's out. So for you folks that are across parts of Clinton and Highland County, it's going to be this storm that's heading to you. Let me see if I can get some timeline on this for an area that's nearby.
They specifically said the storm was issued for the area of concern near Wilmington.
Well, yeah, I guess it's that storm. That would be the storm, right? From there to there. It can't be this one. Okay,
Well,
there's nothing going on here. So it's this one here from Harveysburg down to Lebanon, I think. That's why they're doing it early, right?
Yeah, I think that, but if you switch it over to our radar instead of the Wilmington radar, you're getting a little bit of cone of silence there, and you're not catching some of the data at Wilmington. There is some storm activity overhead.
Oh, why don't we switch to Jen? Yeah, show me what you mean, Jen.
Okay, so this is our 9 First Warning live
Right.
Doppler radar. On these severe weather nights, we have to swap between different radars because when a storm is right overhead, there's a cone of silence and you can't see the data.
Well, that's the same storm I was talking about,
Yep,
right?
yep. So it's actually a bit more into Wilmington. But yeah, what it was cutting off was a little bit of it, but our radar actually shows where it has now already moved into Wilmington, and that's the section that the National Weather Service put the warning out for. So just
Right.
a little off, but
Yeah, no, yeah, I think that's right. I think that whole storm system is what we were talking about, is all of that's moving that way. That's why I think the warning also includes folks down to this area by New Vienna, because the warning stretches out to here. So we're looking at New Vienna. So this storm will eventually reach out to here as it continues. You'll see the skits now moving, yeah, a little northeast, but then this part of the storm right due east. This is, so yeah, I think that's what's going on. With that said, you'll notice a lot of lightning with this storm. I think this is going to end up putting out some power in some small locations. We're talking about over 200 strikes that have happened here in the last 15 minutes. You'll notice how the storm is really, well, gosh, it's stretching right from the top of the county all the way down almost to the bottom of the county as well. So the center of the storm looks like it's right in through here by about Lebanon, right? And so, yeah, that looks like the heaviest amount of reflectivity, probably about here. And then, so we're talking about Harveysburg, 934. Wilmington, for that center part of the storm, will be over you. There's 100% hail. Looks like the hail size is at 1.25 inches, so it's a little larger. Here is that center. Yeah, all the skits are now kind of zooming into here. And let's see if there's anything else. Yeah, there's some rotational properties here showing. It's not terrible, but when you start to see 4.7, you start to take note. And then let's see what else is showing. Yeah, further up the story. So it's this big, broad kind of area here, my guess is, without going in and under the storm. And that's probably where we're seeing that rotation. And then you'll see out ahead of it here that we are getting, I guess, a little bit of some wind gusts that way. Certainly there have been wind gusts to 60 miles an hour. Right at the moment, I don't see that because we'd see some bright red marks here. This is probably 30 or 40, I imagine, if we tag this. Let's see here. Oop, missed it. No, there it is. 44. Yeah. So, okay. So not overly impressive, but something to be watched, and you get a better look at how things are. This is our warnings that are heading out that way and out by Harveysburg and Clarksville, all of that region. You got something to add to the party here, Jennifer?
I was just checking out what's about to come into Fayette County again. There near Connorsville, we've got another cell once again developing. I'm noticing there is some rotation with it, so that could turn into a tornado warning. And those are moving quickly more kind of east. A lot of what we've been covering so far has been moving northeast, but these are a little more eastern movement, and at 45 to 50 miles per hour. It won't take long there. So I was just checking in on kind of what's on the way to those of you in to the Connorsville area. I know sometimes our Indiana communities feel like they don't always get as much love because they're on the fringe, but guys, we're watching for you tonight. We're watching these before they even show up.
Right on, Jen. As we look at it, there's a little bit of a storm activity trying to grow out there by Dearborn County, moving into the west side of the western kind of corner of Hamilton County. This all, of course, is all part of a severe thunderstorm watch. Right now, we're following this area because it's severe thunderstorm warning. It has shown some larger size hail. It shows an immense amount of lightning. My guess is there's a whole lot of rain falling here, probably over an inch in the last I'd say hour or two. We're seeing that lightning showing up across the area. Bring it out to a little bit of the tri-state and you'll see all of the red boxes. That's the indication of the tornado watch that we have out until 3 o'clock. We still think there is more severe thunderstorms to go, or perhaps more. This area that Jen was talking about, you'll notice right out that way, that's the next thing to probably set off a severe thunderstorm warning for you folks in Fayette County. That storm looks pretty powerful right at the moment. Otherwise, we do think the possibility of some development down here into the southwest. The reason why I say that as well, I mentioned the cold front that's creating those thunderstorms by Indianapolis, but this is the area at which really the highest available energy earlier today was noted when we looked at it. The area from just outside of Cincinnati down through about Louisville, that was showing some really strong capabilities of blowing up storms. Just for reference, it does appear there's more tornado warnings, and it looks like out to the south of Evansville, if you have some friends or relatives that way, there's a confirmed tornado down there. All right, as long as I mention it, if you do care, you probably want to know where it is. So let me just pop in here. It is in Davies County in Kentucky, and you'll see the warnings. It looks like now they've gone into a tornado warning as opposed to a confirmed tornado. So at any moment, maybe through that area, we could very well see a tornado stretch across on the other side of Owensboro into whatever, let's see, I'm not sure what the county is. Let's see, Breckenridge County, for you folks who may know that area with friends and relatives to the southwest of Louisville. Our area then, as we focus on that, you'll see the number of polygons we have. Severe thunderstorm warnings still out for us, which should be released here for the front half of this storm. Well, no, they've okay, so they've kept it going for 10 o'clock now for that same storm, because it was 9:30. It wasn't 10 o'clock. So let me get in there a little bit.
The 10 o'clock edition is the addition of portions of Clinton County and then a little bit there of Northern Highland. That Sabina area that you were talking about.
Well, they also have this area here. They obviously extended it.
Yeah.
So that's now at 10 o'clock too, because that was 9:30. This was the extension of 10. But nevertheless, yeah, it's across that area. So we're seeing those thunderstorms. See, even though this is moving somewhat quickly, it's still just kind of hanging around here. And we continue to see some of that rotation, some of the larger size hail. You folks, right in through here between Harveysburg and South Lebanon. Let's see what's there. Oregonia, Mathers Mill. You folks are right in the middle of it. I imagine there's some pretty good thunderstorms popping off and across that region. Certainly you can see the lightning field stretching across for miles, and the fact that there's a lot of it, and as much as 186 strikes right now. We're talking about lightning to faster than a minute, because these are 15-minute running totals. So we're looking at a really powerful storm just sitting, and it continues to grow. Now it's at 190. So this storm is extremely powerful, and even though it says it's moving off at 55 miles an hour, the storm structure is so big that it doesn't even look like it's progressing very quickly, and it's moving, like interstate speeds, for goodness sakes. So you folks on the other side of this, from Harveysburg, by Wilmington, Clarksville, looks like it may not even be raining, but you're seeing some of the lightning popping off. You're about to see some very heavy rain to go along with that, and the fact that there'll likely be some hail with that. Jen, you want to check on the hail, see what we're doing?
That is exactly what I have queued up for you here, sir. Okay, so I wanted to go back for the last 45 minutes, because that's the time in which we've gotten several confirmed reports coming out of Butler County and now into Warren County. This map here shows you the trend of hail, and when it turns black, it typically means that hail is likely. And we had hail confirmed near just east there of Trenton, near Middletown, near State Route 4. And then now you're also seeing a lot of hail clustering happening up near Waynesville. There's a little bit there near South Lebanon. So this same exact area, Steve, that you've been focusing on, where this storm is just almost like sitting there and regenerating and rebuilding, like near Lemon, Waynesville, for sure, we're likely getting more and more hail coming down to the surface. Now, if it's happening where you are with all this lightning, please don't go outside. Please don't go outside. Like, the lightning is way too much. You've been mentioning just how many dozens of lightning strikes are in this same area, and I can actually turn that back on, especially near Harveysburg and up there near the lake right now. If you are getting the hail, wait for it to pass. Those hailstones won't melt too much, and then you can go take your pictures if you'd like to.
Yeah, good advice. Very good advice. I know this is important. You know, there's actually courses we take at the AMS where we talk about the sociology and psychology of viewers. A lot of folks want to go out and see what we're talking about, and it's the worst possible thing you can do. All right, so the severe thunderstorm warning, and you know what's important about this, and it does really strike me, is the fact that this is what we've been talking about, and we've been last couple of days saying that we're going to be in an environment where all of the storm threats are going to be elevated. In other words, this is a severe thunderstorm warning because there's not a whole lot of rotation showing up. There is some, but not enough that would produce a tornado as it stands right now. That may change, but right at the moment, this is a severe thunderstorm warning with an immense amount of lightning and all the other parameters that we're talking about. That's what we meant by an enhanced environment, and why the Storm Prediction Center placed us in a moderate risk, because everything, all of those parameters end up being enhanced. And boy, there's nothing more true than what's happening with this severe thunderstorm warning across the area right now. The warning is still out until 10 o'clock, and it's going to continue to move up through Clinton County. You folks right up there in through the corner of Clinton County, you're going to be next with this particular storm. Now, it looks like a highly rural area. There's Port William showing up, so that's at least good news. But amazing lightning strike field here. This is what's going to put some power out. When we start seeing lightning, you want to check the power? See where we stand? I
can. And also the National Weather Service, they're about to put out an update on the cell. They're just west of Wilmington right now. They said it's heading toward the office. They've been looking at some stuff. They said it has 70-mile-per-hour winds embedded with it and half-dollar-sized hail.
Okay, that's what we're talking about. That's how powerful this storm system is. So all of you folks across this area where you can, well, it's really stretching from Clarksville. Let's see what else is up there as well. We're talking about Oregonia. We're talking about Hickoryville, we're talking about Kingman, Harveysburg, all across this area, guys. This is not to be thought of as just your regular severe thunderstorm where you see some pops of lightning and maybe some winds gusts. Let me toss it over to Jen. I think she's got to look at the power outages.
Yeah, and barely anything. 100 up in Butler County, 200 back in Ripley County.
Yeah.
So, and one of the things that we were kind of worried about with this system were winds in excess of 74 miles per hour. That was one of the big things that also pushed us into that moderate risk of severe weather. And we had the one report out of Pentown of 78 miles per hour. And that would be Ripley County. So that would kind of match up with where we actually did have some of those power outages. But since then, we really haven't seen a lot of high wind. It's evolved a lot more into more of the hail that has been coming out of it, which, as you and I both noticed, starting in the Ozarks, coming through Illinois into Indiana. I mean, this thing started with softball-sized hail. The fact that ours has now gone down to about an inch to an inch and a half, I guess a blessing that it's only that size, because it could have been worse. Yeah,
that's a good point. I also think as I see those power outages, Matt, they might be behind. I don't know that they're right up to the moment. I can't believe with this kind of lightning field, with, as you notice, which continues to grow, by the way, at 273 in the last 15 minutes, that's stretching across this vast area, that it's not blowing some power out that way. Maybe it isn't. Maybe we're just a really lucky night. But I would say anywhere else, if this kind of lightning field sets up, normally that's really what could cause some power outages. So we'll see as we go through the night whether or not folks in parts of Warren and also Clinton County, we end up seeing at least some power outages like we've seen in other counties. The big picture shows, and this is what I want to get back to, all of a sudden out of nowhere, whoops. Jen, you want to take it so I can reset, I think, here for a second? Wait a minute, I'll just bring it in there.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
You're quick. I couldn't even get over there.
So as you look at it right out through here, look at that Ross area again with a thunderstorm. Out of nowhere, you folks just had a thunderstorm blow right up. I don't have to tell you what you've already been through because you already had that very strong thunderstorm move across the area. So this is how quickly I'm kind of interested about the fact that the atmosphere wasn't as raked over as much in this area, because you wouldn't have thought that this kind of field of thunderstorms would happen. Whether it goes severe will be the interesting thing. It may just be some thunderstorms happening. There's also this area up here we've been talking about that's now starting to move very close to a portion of Fayette County. Looks like the storm itself will miss you guys in Connorsville, but for folks who are at the northern part of the county, I'm looking down in there, looks like it's highly rural, maybe a portion of Waterloo. Trying to see if there's any, Bentonville, you folks there, Harrisburg. Okay, Bentonville, you're in the bullseye here of this storm, and this storm has been very powerful, and it's what's known as a shear storm. So there is a lot of rotation at the surface. You'll notice we've got shear to about 51 miles an hour. So that's that rotational properties. So there are some, it's not growing in intensity at the moment because this was much stronger. But we're also seeing a lot of lightning for this area. Let's see here for you folks from an ETA standpoint. So we're looking on the outside of this cone that you see here, Waterloo, at about 10:01. So we're talking about out here. So you got about half an hour, a little less or so, at Cambridge City down through Connorsville. You're also in that cone of some of the thunderstorm. So keep that in mind here as we go through the next 30 minutes. We'll keep you posted as this storm continues to move your way. That's the latest one. And, you know, the interesting thing is I don't see much more than that that's out there. Jen, have you seen anything out that way that's grown to a significant portion here?
I was actually just checking in on some reports, so I was not paying attention. I apologize.
That's okay. No, that's all right.
I was paying attention to other things. But we did actually just hear from Ripley County that there is some storm damage that did happen near Sunman, where a tree actually fell into a home. So we had some of the higher winds near 70, 75 miles per hour there. So that just came in from dispatch. They're still looking at the cell that's near Wilmington coming in because of the strength of it. Looking at potentially adding considerable and destructive to the description on that one because the winds have been increasing in that field. And the National Weather Service has issued a new severe thunderstorm warning for Clinton County and Highland County. That now still continues. I guess it's an addendum to their 10 o'clock one, but it says this is a destructive storm for Clinton County. That is the specific wording, with 80-mile-per-hour winds and half-dollar-sized hail. The closest camera we have, the reason I have this pulled up behind me, I was looking at our Hillsborough camera because it is one of the ones closer. I also was checking in on the Kings Island camera. Steve, you mentioned this earlier, the crowds of people. Look at that.
Yeah.
Not a soul. I mean, they cleared it out.
Yeah, well, with the kind of rain and thunderstorms that have been around, they had to move people out. This now becomes a safety risk.
Yep.
Here's the story that Jen was just talking about with this storm. You know, we've been talking a lot about it because it deserves to be that talked about. And now you'll see here as we look at it, there's that thunderstorm warning that now stretches out of Clinton County and that portion of Highland County too. The storm continues to move off to Sabina. Now, you folks that are up there know this. While you're seeing just some rain and maybe a few thunderstorms within, and let me see if I can give you a time frame here as get this lightning off. So, and that might help. Let's see, because they've got, it's right out by Clarksville. And okay, so Sabina at 10:01. So you folks are going to see this right about the top of the hour, right from that center point where all the strength of the storm is. Ooh. And it continues to move off that way as well. We're still seeing some just good rotational property. That's why this storm is so strong. And Jen was talking about winds with 70, 80 miles an hour within it. That's the kind of damaging winds and increased problematic situation we're under with some of these storms. You got something?
Well, just looking at the wind coming down from the thunderstorm. So coming out of Sligo and Ogden right now, there is a 67-mile-per-hour wind, and it was just over Sligo, and the new update came in, so it moved quickly there along 22. And that next frame capture, which is going to come in here in another minute or two, is going to have it right in downtown Wilmington at South Street and cutting right through the middle of town. So heads up. downtown Wilmington, really all of town, you're about to get a big gust of wind coming in. That's why the National Weather Service put out that new update to the warning and added the addition of destructive, because at 67 to 70 miles per hour, you're definitely hitting that threshold to cause tree limbs to come down, power limbs to come down, or even damage to homes.
No question about it. And this is still out and still until the top of the hour at 10 o'clock. We continue to follow this storm, and once this one moves out of the area, unless something else demands our attention, we'll go back to programming at 10 o'clock. But we are following one other severe storm that's up here that's right up against Fayette County. It's the one I mentioned just a few minutes ago. The storms that are reforming or so around Ross, stretching over to Westchester, out by Sycamore and Sims and Loveland area. These storms are generic thunderstorms, although this storm here is showing some rotational properties, meaning it's starting to strengthen a little bit. We're seeing the possibility of some probably pea-size hail. At the moment, you'll notice that it could be in Sharonville by 10:02, Westchester about the same, and Mason at 10:10. So this storm is worth watching. It would be unusual to see this really blow up after all of this storm moved across there, and as strong as that storm is, it sucked out the energy over much of that area. I'm just honestly wondering when we could see any more development in and around southeast Indiana and parts of northern Kentucky. There just hasn't been anything that I can remember. Down 75 Independence to Dry Ridge, there was maybe some thunderstorms earlier today, but I don't believe in this round of weather. We're starting to see a little bit here. See, things are starting to just develop a little bit out toward 74, out toward that area. But otherwise, it'll be very interesting to see how that next part of the cold front comes through and whether or not we get storms. The bet is yes, because that's what we're waiting on to happen. As that moves through, that'll end up causing some of the thunderstorms in the area. So we'll end up seeing probably some more thunderstorms that could blow up strong, especially as we look at some of the areas across northern Kentucky. You folks down and around the areas here by Fort Thomas, Bellevue, Covington. We're talking about all of these areas that just haven't been hit, and all of this is just all that warm, moist air. I mean, I couldn't see it not happening. It would be very unusual not to see it. So it's 9:43 here right now. A lot of folks may be thinking about going off to bed. Just make sure you have some way of getting warnings, whether it's our WCPO app or perhaps by a weather radio, because this is still, when this cold front moves through, it's still going to be a couple of hours from now. It's going to be, closer to what, almost midnight before we see that. So I just want to make sure folks who go to bed are ready for this. Jen, you got something?
You know, I was just looking at the gap there, and this was something that you and I were both analyzing this afternoon, as we call it the HRR, the HRRR model. There was a couple of runs that showed this gap right over Cincinnati, and it's just crazy to see how it's played out. And sometimes it comes down to active tracking on these weather days. We can show you models over and over and over again, but it's when these storms actually get here and arrive, and you just have to start looking at how things are developing. And yeah, I mean, northern Kentucky, my husband just texted, he goes, "No rain, where's my rain?" This is why, okay? So sometimes we get these gaps, but yeah, there's definitely a focus north, and a lot of severe weather down to the south and southern Indiana through central Kentucky, but there's definitely a gap there in northern Kentucky this evening. Yeah,
no question about it. It's interesting because I'm glad Jen pointing that out. We did see it earlier in our modeling that we were watching, and more than that was the aspect that I get this question all the time, and folks always say, why does it split apart? That happens a lot, and over 20 plus years I've been here, I get that question when I talk a lot to folks out, and they want to know about different things that are happening and how things happen, and they say, why does it split apart? And I've always answered this. I believe there's a doctorate in meteorology to be made by why there seems to be sometimes a barrier here, and it's all the energy lifts north, and it splits apart and goes down to the south, as we're seeing that Jen mentioned. But to get back to it, you'll see where we stand right now. The thunderstorm out of pretty much all of Warren County here, by the way. This is a severe thunderstorm warning that's right across Clinton County right at the moment. And as we look at it a little bit closer, you'll see the storm itself is right over our radar in Wilmington. That's why, as Jen mentioned a few moments ago, why we have access and why we have our own radar in Claremont County. Because if this was over Claremont County, we'd switch over, because it does retard the information coming out so we don't get everything. The lightning is from something else entirely, and that's why we have an idea of what it looks like. Even though it's over the radar right now, we continue to see this amazing lightning field moving across. Now, Wilmington is seeing all these thunderstorms across the area at the moment, and that lightning field to 200. And as we found out, we're talking about winds that are likely at 70 miles an hour, perhaps even greater. I see the lightning continuing to propagate as this storm moves. See it pop out here now, and it continues to do that. This storm just is a monster moving across such a wide area as a severe thunderstorm. I'm not kidding for you folks in Sabina. This is not to be trifled with. This storm that you see across here is all going to be moving up to you here momentarily, and as it does, we're talking about a really powerful storm that's likely to cause some damage if those wind gusts are realized again, as we have seen. Okay, Jen, you got something there for me?
I sure do. So watching at home right now, Tiffany Cox, she's over in Ross. You mentioned some of those isolated storms redeveloping in Butler County, wondering if they would have enough gusto to do anything severe. Well, look what Tiffany has. More hail. So it came through with the most recent cell that popped in there in Ross. I mean, you look at your hand and it's like, okay, that's probably about dime sized. It's not the largest we've seen, but still showing that some of the cells that are coming through here this evening are doing enough lifting to get some small hail being taken to come out of them. So Tiffany Cox there says she took that at 9:41, so just 6 minutes ago. So thank you, Tiffany, for watching and getting us that photo. And speaking of the National Weather Service, you were monitoring what was happening there in Wilmington. They battened down the hatches and turned on backup power just in case. So we're waiting to hear from them to see how high the wind gusts were when it came over their office.
Yeah, that is one powerful storm, and this one is growing. The one that our friend Tiffany gave us that picture from out in Ross. You'll notice the lightning field's growing. We're starting to see very intense rainfall up here just to the west of Fairfield. So let's give you a little idea of where this is going. And as you do, you'll notice that the center of the storm with the heaviest amounts of rain will be in Fairfield in just the next few minutes. Looks like the possibility, see, there's a 70% chance of hail. That's perfect because of what Tiffany was showing us. You'll notice, too, the ETA for this storm as it continues to move off to the northeast or east-northeast at about 40. When it hits Fairfield, went Westchester at 10:06, Mason at 10:13, Sycamore area, and out by Lemon at 10:16. This is a good-sized storm. Right now, not showing the properties of severe weather, but again, it does look like this could be a real problematic storm. There's one as well. Take a look at this as we look back over here by Sycamore, Sims, Loveland area. This storm continues to all of a sudden get stronger. And you can see how it's starting not only to grow in size, but all the other parameters that we've mentioned. So for you folks in South Lebanon, Mainville, down by Loveland, let's take a look at the ETA. South Lebanon at 10:01. Looks like there's some small hail there. This is the kind that can just ping the top of your hood and cause damage. Out by Lebanon at 10:07. So this storm moves off to the northeast as well. The running flow has been northeast here with these storms as it continues to move off that way, following right in behind this one, which is a little surprising. As strong as the storm is, you would have thought this same area got raked over. Now, the next thing is going to happen is this torrential rain over the same area is over time perhaps going to give us some flood advisories, because this training that's going on, meaning this big storm and then these other two that are following really basically in the same path, are going to run over the same areas, meaning a training going on the same tracks. And so with more torrential rain, that could end up causing problems there. Okay, let's take a look up at this storm here. It's starting to break into Fayette County. At the moment, it is not a warned storm, but it is a strong one. So you folks that we were talking up there in the top of the county by Bentonville rather, you're getting this storm and getting just the tip of it. So let me show you how long you've got to go through this storm. If we take off the radar, excuse me, the lightning here, here's the end of the storm. So as it moves through, we are talking, let's get this back. There's some rotation in that storm. That's, you know, that's the one that was showing a severe thunderstorm warning. Here's the heaviest amounts of rain. Looks like by West County Road 500. And you folks that are in and around that area, there's Waterloo for you to give you a kind of an idea. It's this mark here, and this storm will be gone there in 10:07. So we're looking about 17 minutes of this storm moving through Milton and Waterloo, and then you folks in 17 minutes in Centerville, just about that time by the computer at 10:15. We'll see that storm across that area. That's a little out of our spot, but for folks in and around that area of parts of Fayette and Union County, well,
New warning just came out for
there's
them.
the warning.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, there's the warning
So-
right there. So this warning is at till 10:30 for the same areas across here. Now let's talk about specifics. I'm glad I just gave an ETA amount, but this is going to be till 10:30 because it's going to move through Abington and out by the other side of Union County out here by that time frame at 10:30. So since I gave you the ETAs, I'll give you one more time here, and you'll notice that Abington is at 10:07, so this storm is going to rip. It is, look how fast it's moving. Yeah, it's moving at 56. So even though the warning is out for this area, we're still talking about a storm that's going to be almost out of the area in about the next, what is it, about 15 minutes. So while it's a 30-minute warning, it's already going to be out here and moving off out of our area. So for you folks in Fayette and Union County, you're now in a severe thunderstorm warning. Glad I went up and checked that. That worked out very timely for you folks. So now you know you're under a severe thunderstorm warning. What do we got? What's going on there? Oh, it's about to go off. That's why. Okay, that's why.
Well, that's that particularly dangerous situation, severe thunderstorm warning. That's the peach one we were talking about earlier.
Is that what it is? They're
Yep.
putting it out, but they're putting it out now.
I thought the same thing. I'm curious why it just now is populating on the map.
Peach one. You're right. It
But
is that one.
we had never seen the peach one before, and I had to go through.
There is some. We were discussing this earlier. Yeah. We were talking about this. Jen mentioned that out in Indiana tonight there was a particularly dangerous thunderstorm warning, and normally that's been applied only to tornadic storms. But the National Weather Service recently kind of issued some new things that they want to do, and you'll see why. Here we are focusing all in this storm here for the last half an hour. And the reason why the National Weather Service now has put this out, honestly, is because it went over the top of them. And they got a firsthand accounting of how bad this storm was. And so as a result, that's why they're doing that. So yes, now, you folks, Sabina, hopefully you took my advice and you went into a real safe location and took the storm seriously. This is a serious storm that may not be tornadic, but it is producing straight line winds, as we found out, to 80 miles an hour. So that's going to continue for you folks until the storm moves out. Let me give you an idea. If you're watching and maybe on your phone or perhaps a laptop, let's see where we are here. The center of the storm is going to reach at 9:59. Okay, so you got 5 minutes of what you're going through now, and then it's going to actually get stronger, and then the next 5 minutes, so about 10 minutes away probably of this storm moving out, and then that's going to mean you'll be out of the severe weather, at least for now. But we've seen so many areas that are already kind of igniting. For instance, up by Connorsville, there's some here, of course, right by the Hamilton and Butler County line, right by Westchester. There's been a lot of good thunderstorm action here. Heavy rain again. Jen, you got a couple of words?
I just got a new video in from Eric in the...
Need a minute?
Yep, I need a second.
Okay, you take care of that, and we'll continue talking about what we have here. You'll notice, and one of the things I want to talk about is I was going to have Jen do it only because it's a little bit easier than doing it here with this tracking, but I wanted to see what kind of rainfall that we're seeing across this area now, because the reality is, as I mentioned a few moments ago, if you were with us, that, yeah, and there you go, that's kind of what I'm talking about. Now, if we tag this, and I'm about to here just in a second, this green area that you see across here, that is all probably 1.5 inches or 2 inches of rain in a very short amount of time, meaning we're talking about maybe 2 to 3 hours. So 1 inch of rain there. Let's check over here a little bit about 1 inch of rain there. Within this, though, there's probably some 1.5 inch marks, but that's a lot of rain that's been falling in that short amount of time. Thankfully, we haven't had any flood advisories. All these green areas that you see across the tri-state right at the moment, that's where is that 1.5 inches, and you'll notice this darker shaded area down through Franklin County. But it is interesting how the trajectory of the storms have gone. You can follow these lines to see where the storms started and where they finished or are right now, stretching right out from central Indiana and then kind of had that northeasterly jog. When we're not seeing any development down here, there have been some south of Louisville, so you folks in and across northern Kentucky, it's 10 o'clock. That cold front's still way out there, though, so I think we still have the possibility of probably seeing some development later. We'll see if that's indeed the case. So I think that is certainly possible as we head through the evening. As we look, I want to go over to our Indianapolis radar, and the reason I wanted to see if there's anything out there right at the moment, and nothing is developing.
That's good.
From a standpoint, that's great. I mean, it really is. A lot of folks are going to say, where was the rain? But what would you rather, have nothing or end up having some of these severe storms? Look at this. I'm just noticing this. Goodness gracious.
Trying to spin up again.
Oh, man. And this is right in the same location. It's so surprising to see something like this. This indicates there's some rotation here right at the bottom where we're looking at this storm. Man, oh man, that is very surprising. Okay, so let's take a look at where we stand here with this. Oh, wait a minute, what is that? Oh, is that a shear spike? Yeah, it sure is. So our radar is picking up a shear storm right now. Looks like it is kind of weak, but nevertheless, it's a shear storm. Oh my goodness, it's got a BTI of 9. A little concerned about this storm. Yeah, little concern about this storm. You folks in the Mainville, Morrow, Butlerville, and Clarksville area, you want a good piece of advice? I'd go ahead to your tornado safe location. I say that because now as I look at it, see what's going on here? See this little curvature and the reflectivity that's happening? My guess is there's probably a really good lightning field starting to grow across that area. There's your lightning field. I'm going to leave the ETA up so you folks know. But what happens is a shear storm indicates that within the lower levels of the atmosphere, we're starting to see some rotation across there. Let's see what they say, either a severe thunderstorm warning. I'm hoping it's not a tornado warning across that area.
Reports of dime-sized hail at Mainville, and they've issued a severe thunderstorm warning for Clinton, Highland, Fayette. That's out of our viewing area, so it'll pop onto the screen here shortly.
There it is. Just went up there by Xenia. So it's not issued for this, huh? That's a little surprising, given all the parameters that we're seeing on our 9 first warning Doppler. Quite honestly, and this is not a slam, but it wouldn't be the first time that our 9 first warning Doppler picked up something. What I'm trying to say, it wouldn't be the first time our 9 first warning Doppler has picked up something and then all of a sudden it starts showing up at some of the area radars. So this is something that's concerning to me, and one that I think you should take seriously yourself, because as we look at this particular storm, we're seeing a pretty good rotation in the storm itself at the surface. It continues to move off to the east at 29 miles an hour. Also seeing some rotation now back in this other storm that's happening. Hopefully these two don't link up. That would be something that would not be good. You'll see it looks like there might be just some rotation trying to happen in and around this storm. Let me go under the storm itself. Okay, there you go. Look what's gone on here. Look at these bright parameters. And as you look at them, and especially this one now, that's why that's hopped over there. You see, we're not getting as much. There's green in there. Let me get this lightning off. And I can see it, but I know it's probably difficult for you. Yeah, see, we're starting to see that. I want to keep the ETA going here. So let me go ahead and grab our little analyzation tool. And right underneath it, we've got 47. We got 53. Yeah, there's some pretty good rotation going on down there at the surface. We got this bright spike here, this little one here. Let me try and tag it. It's tough to do. Yeah, I can't quite get it. Let me take it off, try it again. That sometimes helps.
It reminds me a lot of what we saw back in Ross 54. Earlier, where we had that rotation that was kind of a little south of it.
Look what's happening there out by Goshen. You folks in Goshen, just know that you've got straight line winds that are going to damage things, take down trees. When you have a gust at 76 miles an hour, let's take a closer look at that across that area, and we'll go ahead and show you where that is so that you know exactly. It's right by State Route 132. That area stretching and going into Goshen. There are some phenomenally strong winds there, damaging winds right across the Springvale to Goshen area. You folks are all too familiar with severe weather in Goshen, I'm afraid. I hope to goodness that this is just hitting into some open property and land. Look at this, what we're seeing here on our 9 first warning Doppler radar network, and we're looking at potentially wind gusts that are upwards of 90 miles an hour or close to it. So this entire area here, and it is rotational. That's why that canister got up there. So we're seeing, in fact, if I go up here and show you this, I'll grab the pen. And right here, see this green part here, this is going in this fashion. And then down here, this is going in that fashion. So there's some pretty good rotation, and there's certainly some winds there will cause damage. You folks in Goshen, across hills, stretching down to Ashdale, you folks all should be in a tornado-safe location. Now, this is not a tornado. I want to be clear about that, but I use that term because wherever is your safe place in your home, you should head to it now. And as that storm continues to move, it's going to move up toward Butlerville and then stretching up as well toward Midland. And you'll notice there's another storm, and now this is looks like it's a shear storm as well. Oh, goodness gracious. I'm greatly concerned about this area around Sharonville. You'll notice how bright the green is across there. I want to tag this first and show you an ETA, because then all of a sudden we're looking at some very strong storm right now with a BTI of 9. Let me say this about that. There is a possibility there is a tornado on the ground right now in this area around Westchester and Sharonville. At this particular moment, that is a possibility, because when our tornado index shows a 9, and I've only seen a 9 about 2 times, this area is showing that right now. So for you folks in Westchester, Mason, Sycamore, and any place else that would be east and northeast of this storm, you need to go in your tornado safe location now. Because as we look at this storm, it is showing some very strong properties across that area. So I want you to go ahead and be in that tornado safe location. I'm hoping that this is not true, but I have to tell you, as we look at it, that that's what is very important across the area. Now, as we check everything else, I'm on the Wilmington radar. And so, but thank you, Jen. I was just making sure. Yeah, I was making sure myself. That is the relative velocity on the Wilmington radar.
Wow.
And that could be a real problem for us. Let me go over and show you some of the radar data that's happening. And as you look at it, that heaviest rain is up through about Westchester, and we're seeing that storminess all across there and moving through South Lebanon. Now, this has got rotational properties. We'll see if they are actually on the ground or not. It could have hit an area that was highly rural, and we wouldn't end up seeing seeing that or knowing about it at all. So anyway, this storm is very strong, and now as we look at it, some of that strength has dropped. It's at 6.7 at this point. It's still a very strong storm for you folks across Westchester and Mason and out by Mainville and South Lebanon as well. Let's see if the shear is underneath it, or this might just be some rotational winds. We're not seeing a heck of a lot of shear here, I will say, at the moment. As we look at it, we've got ourselves a little bit showing there around Tylersville, but not enough to make a case for. So we still have some pretty good rotation. The velocity indicator is there for that. And at the moment, we're seeing not as strong velocity, and that's good. But we are by Tylersville seeing gusts to 53, and then you'll notice some of the same coloration out here as well, just around the Landon area, pretty close. So we're seeing some areas that are seeing these strong winds. They could be straight line. There's some missing data in here that makes me think that's possible as well. So just know this is a powerful storm, and make sure that you take the precautions across that area, because we're looking at that storm that continues to move off to the east. Yes, Jen.
All right, so I've got a couple of reports that are coming in from viewers at home. Wilmington, that just got hit with that particularly dangerous storm there. This is from Megan Johnson, and you've definitely got about 1-inch diameter hail there out of Wilmington. And then I also had a video. You talked so much this evening, Steve, about the intense lightning, and this might be better to take screen full, but you can see the winds picking up there in Winchester. But Eric captured just the constant lightning show going on when the storm was passing north of him. He said this was looking north toward the Hillsborough area, which would have been the cell up there near Wilmington. So just 2 more visuals from viewers that are watching at home right now. Thank you guys for sending in your storm reports, and I just got another hail photo in as well, Steve.
Okay, very good. So I want to update here, and we're going to take this back to programming. We're about at the top of the hour, and you can get back to watching ABC programming. Severe thunderstorm warning out till 10:45. You'll notice that this is really moving out of our area. There still is a portion of this storm that is a severe thunderstorm warning, again, until 10:45. It's the one that we were looking at. So that was issued across a portion of Warren County as well as Clinton County. So just keep that in mind. Let me just go down and show you where we're talking about. That warning is out from Westchester. There's the storm we were watching. There's the other storm that we were watching in Morrow, and it continues to move up into Clinton County, and you'll see the marker here at 10:45. So as we look at it, we'll be back on if necessary, but that's the very latest. We'll send you back to programming now. For meteorologist Jennifer Ketchmark, I'm Steve Raleigh. We may see you again.